doesn't turn off. Okay. All right. So Ruth provided a little bit of an introduction. My name is Derrick Wlodarz. I run a company called FireLogic out of Park Ridge. We have a few of our customers here in attendance today. I'm not going to name any names or point anyone out. But we've been in business now for about 5 years at this point. We started off just doing residential computer repair. We primarily specialize in providing outsourced IT support for small business customers, mid-sized business customers. But we still offer drop-off computer repair. We can come to your home and do computer repair as well. Either of those two options. We've got a team of roughly 10 people now on staff that try to help out with a lot of the services that we provide. And I like to think we do a pretty good job. We have a very loyal customer base that continues to use us. And usually once they make the switch, they don't go back to the other geeks.
Well, you just get personalized service, and they get answers to your questions and all that type of thing. So, and they're nearby. Lots of parking.
That's right. That's right. We have a great parking lot. So, I live in Park Ridge. Our business is in Park Ridge. I went to Maine South High School. I worked at Maine South High School. I've been doing IT professionally now for about 10 years. I was working for a competitor of mine since I was a senior in high school. I then went back to Maine South. I provided IT support and training for staff and students for about 4 years, and I was concurrently starting FireLogic around that time, back in 2010, and finally left the high school in 2012 once this company was self-sufficient. So I bring 10 years of experience to the table. I've got certifications, more than I can count on two hands at this point, from Microsoft, Google, Computing Technology Industry Association, and a few other outfits out there. So I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about. And the purpose of putting on this class today is sort of, you can call it a smorgasbord of all those little tidbits and nuggets that no one teaches you. You can't really find in the magazines unless you hunt, or some of the articles out there. This is stuff that I've garnered over 10 years of being in this industry, not only in the private sector, but also in the public sector as well, working with small organizations, big organizations, and doing my own IT for many, many years at this point. I've been tinkering with systems since I was in about 1st or 2nd grade. I can still remember the first computer I got. I helped start the first computer club at Maine South High School. So I take IT and technology very, very, very highly. I've always loved tech and have had a passion for being able to maintain my own computers and build computers. I used to build all my own machines, even though it's not that cost effective anymore to do so. But I've been working with this stuff for quite some time. So again, purpose of today's class is a little bit of a show and tell. I really would love to see any questions that come from the crowd. Whatever kind of questions you have about backups, about virus protection, about how should you choose a new PC that you want to buy, all those kind of questions that you can't really go to that many places for, those are the kind of things that I want to cover in today's class. And even though the class is called Maintaining Your Home PC, there's so many different topics that I'm going to cover during today's course that it's not just about PCs, right? Tablets are computers, smartphones are computers, Macs are computers too. So we're covering all those different topics here in all the tidbits that I'm going to be sharing during today's class. Okay? And if you didn't get an agenda, feel free to ask Ruth or just go on up to the side. We've got a one-page agenda sheet. I'm breaking the class down into a very simple 4-part structure. We're going to start off with sort of the basics of the tricks of keeping your computer running well, the kind of things that we recommend to customers when you come in for a service with us. I'm going to jump into a little bit on security, which is a big topic, very important. We actually had our formal security class about a month and a half, 2 months ago at this point. It was a good, very good deep dive into all the security topics. And if you're interested in more of the security side, our YouTube channel, we have that class already posted in video format. So you can rewatch it just like today's class. Okay? I'm going to go into some of the rules and best practices about backup, since We get a lot of customers that come to us crying because they've lost data. We've had 2 in the last month that we've had to have professional recovery done for. I don't want any of you to become the next victim. So we're going to talk a little bit about proper backup routines. And then we're going to finish off with some tips that I've gleaned over the years about how to save money on all of your computing needs. From things like toner to how to decide on buying the right computer, how not to get upsold too heavily when you go to a computer store, all those different things that we've been sharing with customers and going to let loose during today's course. Okay? So if there's something that I'm not covering in this and you want to ask as we go along, or at the end when we have a little bit of a Q&A just before we finish up, feel free. You can pick my brain for all it's worth before noon today. We actually did a commercial with Microsoft about a year and a half ago that's live on the internet, so if you want to see it, it's available on YouTube now. The link is on the bottom right-hand corner. It was actually meant for IT professionals, but again, not many places can say they got to do a commercial with Microsoft, so you can definitely check that out. It's got myself in it, got some of our other coworkers, so it's pretty neat. Some of our upcoming events that we're doing, we've got some neat new classes that we're actually planning. Sometimes we tend to repeat some of the same things. We actually did this class a little over 1 year ago. But I've got some new classes that we're planning for the current year. One of the newest ones that's coming very soon, actually in July, is going to be an Internet Safety 101 class for parents. If you've got kids in the home and you want to figure out how to keep the kids safe, what kind of things we recommend for households that have children that are browsing the internet using tablets. I mean, my gosh, these kids today that I see that are 8, 9 years old using tablets online with smartphones, it's scary. It's good that technology's in the hands, but again, a lot of the concepts that I was taught formally when I was younger seem to be skipped over these days. So I'm going to provide a lot of those juicy nuggets and best practices for parents and how they should be keeping a watch over their kids' devices, internet connection, and how to make sure our kids are safe when they're using the computer and internet these days. So that's going to be a brand new class that we're launching Saturday, July 25th from 10 to noon in this room, I believe, right over here at Niles Library. We offer a open tech help desk session that's actually hosted every month at Parkridge Library, second Saturday of the month. If you have any questions of any sort, like things you want to get answered on your tablet or smartphone or your computer, please don't bring in a tower PC. If you have a laptop, you can bring that, but we don't want to see these big boys coming into the help desk session. So that's the second Saturday of every month at Parkridge Library, 9 to noon. And we have 2 sessions we're doing here at Niles Library, June 27th and August 22nd. Ruth, is it downstairs? We do it in the downstairs lower level?
I think we'll do it in the same meeting room we were in before.
Okay.
You saw the picture and your tech didn't seem to have a problem with that.
Yeah. So we're going to be using
the lower level meeting room, which is if you're not used to our layout, is when you go to the lower level, which is where the main computer lab is. You'll see that directly behind the service desk is a room, and you can see it. It has a table in it, a big table, like conference table style. And so it's not as big as this room, but I think it's easier to work in than our training.
Yeah, it's a little
more
more free flowing, a little more open for us.
So that's where we'll be.
So mark your calendars. Like I said, Niles Library, we're offering 2 sessions, and we're trying to do a session once every other month here at Niles Library for some of the Niles residents and those that are a little bit closer to Niles Library that can't make it over to Parkridge. And then Windows 10 is actually going to be launching later this year, probably in the July, August, early September timeframe. We are planning a class with Parkridge Library already that's going to be happening November, December, and I hope to be replicating that same class here at Niles Library. So Ruth will be in touch about hosting that.
We're looking forward to upgrade of equipment that would allow us to be into Windows 10 by that time.
Yep. So again, that's going to be the holiday shopping season. Windows 10 devices will be on the market. And one tidbit that most people don't know about, if you're running Windows 7 or Windows 8 already on your home system, you're entitled to a free upgrade to Windows 10. Microsoft's allowing a 1-year window where you can make a free jump to the new version of Windows. So that's something you definitely want to think about taking advantage of because it's going to be a time-limited promotion from them.
8.1 too?
8.1, yeah. When I say 8, it means 8 and 8.1. So, yes. Okay. All right. Let's get started on the meat of what we want to get into. Really quickly, I just want to find out from the crowd. I know I have some topics that I want to cover here today during class. Ruth, do we have a pen of any sort over here? A marker?
You need a marker?
Well, for the.
Oh, I'll get you one that works for that. I'll be right back. So remember what you're saying.
I've got things I want to cover during today's class. I'm really curious. What are some of the things that you really want to make sure that I cover during this session here today? What's the reason that brought you here into this?
How to buy a laptop.
How to buy a laptop. We'll be going over how to purchase towards the end. Section 4, we'll go over that.
Old computer running too slow.
Well, that's our specialty. We have to speed them up. I think we're going to talk a little bit about optimization. Yeah, we're going to go into a little bit of that. CCleaner, we're going to talk about clearing out your cookies, your temporary files, startup files, things of that nature. So we'll definitely touch on that. And also we're going to talk about how to look at the decision between repair and replace of a computer as well, because that is a very big junction point that a lot of people are coming to these days with their machines.
And malware, how do I know I have it and how do I
Oh,
get rid of it?
malware. Buy a laptop. We had PC is slow. What was the other one? Malware? Got a whole section on security today. We'll definitely be covering malware. Is this a preventative maintenance question or is this a I'm infected question?
I think I have I'm not sure on IE, but I don't use it anymore. I went over to Firefox.
Okay.
So I don't know, but it must still be there.
Okay.
I was wondering if I could delete IE and reload it.
Can't delete IE.
Okay.
IE is hard baked into the system, so you can't get rid of it. But that's not necessarily going to. Even if you could uninstall it, it wouldn't necessarily help get rid of the infection. We need to tackle the actual infections that are on the machine at that point. So again, we'll talk a little bit about security. If you want to talk to me personally after class about your situation, I can definitely take a look at it with you. Anyone else? Why'd you come? Yes.
This might be a little off the topics. I don't know which out of the 4 this
Okay.
might fit into, but the distinctions between Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular, hotspots.
Okay. All that wireless stuff, right?
I didn't even know what category to put it all in.
I'm going to try to make sure I remember to touch on that. If I don't touch on it before the end, please make sure you bring that up at the end of class, and I will definitely do a 2-minute spiel on the differences of what all those things mean, and when it's appropriate to use one over the other, and where you can use one over the other.
Great.
So I think that would be a good little nugget that we could share.
That would be perfect.
Anyone else? Yes. Go ahead.
I use zone alarm for firewalls,
Okay.
and once in a while pops up a window say, do you allow this to, and there's one item I don't know what it is, so I click deny, but it won't go away. It comes up around 4 o'clock every day.
Really?
But
Like clockwork, huh?
yeah, if I restart the computer, then it won't show up. So I don't have exactly what it is with me now,
Okay.
but
That might be more of a one-on-one question. If I don't get to it during the class session, let's chat after class really briefly, because that could be very custom to what your PC, your situation, and perhaps maybe an infection you have in your system that's trying to broadcast out somewhere.
that's why I keep denying every day.
Well, that's good. Anyone else? Everyone else is just here for the ride. That's fine.
Whatever
Nothing
you
wrong with
share.
that. What?
Whatever you share.
Whatever I share, there
You're
you
the
go.
expert.
Okay. Good questions, good topics. A lot of the things that we definitely come across on a day-to-day basis. And again, I will do my best to cover them contextually as we go along, and if I do not, at the end during Q&A, we'll definitely cover some of those aspects. I beat it into everyone's head every time we do a class. I'm going to continue to do so because there are still people out there running Windows XP and Office 2003. As Microsoft has said, if you are running either of these platforms after April 8th of last year, you're on your own. And what does that mean when you're on your own? You literally are on your own because any of the attacks and infections or exploits, zero-day exploits, especially are the worst ones that are coming out for these two pieces of software. These are the things that really affect you the most because not only are antivirus programs are beginning to stop supporting these old, especially Windows XP, but again, since Microsoft's not releasing security patches, any of this new bad stuff coming out, you have no protection against. So, you know, if you really have to use a Windows XP machine, you don't want it to be touching internet, is the biggest thing. And even if it's not touching internet, you want to make sure you're not using it that often, not transferring USB keys between that system and another system, because again, the longer you're not getting updates on a Windows XP machine, the more likely it is that you can get that machine infected, and that could pass things to other systems within the home. So, you know, again, just a word of advice. It's time to move on. Windows XP is a very, very old platform. It is a system that came out in 2001. What we're talking about 14 years at this point for that. It's an operating system that Microsoft never meant to allow to go that long for a few different reasons. They did, but again, it's time to definitely move on. Windows 7 is still a great option. Windows 8's out there. Windows 10 is coming out very soon. And of course, you can also get a Mac or a Chromebook. Too many options out in the market today to be sticking to such an old computer platform. So again, that's my big word of advice. If you remember nothing else, it's please refrain from using Windows XP anymore on your home systems.
If it's in your system, what can you do?
What's in your system?
If Windows XP, if that's what you got in your computer.
If that's what you have, then that machine is probably of an age that you need to think about replacement. You could upgrade the system. I mean, there are some situations where we do help customers upgrade to Windows 8 or Windows 7, but usually if it's running Windows XP, that machine's probably got at least 6, 7, 8 or more years on it at this point. So, I mean, you've bought enough time on a machine of that age. So.
And what Derrick said was on your home machine. We are still running Windows XP here, but we have an IT staff who's made it safe.
Exactly. Exactly. So
and they have wanted to change it, but until the group in this room, not you guys, but our board makes that approval, they had a number of questions that they wanted to study, and they're very careful with spending our patrons' money.
Yeah.
So we're going to.
But again, they have a lot more defenses in place, things that you just can't employ in a home kind of setting, which is why, you know, I don't like to see XP. It's still in use over here, but it is what it is. So, and it's still a relatively secure environment.
Yeah.
So,
as long as you have experts running it.
That's right.
Not us.
So section 1, keeping your machine humming and working nicely. So let's dig in a little bit. 90% of the calls that we get can be resolved by one of 3 things. This is the magic list. Write this list down, or be sure to rewatch this section of the video, because most of the time you can save yourself a call from us, or not have to place a call into us, or someone else, or Dell, or sit on the phone for hours with support if you just check these 3 items. Check your cabling. This is something that, time and time again, I know people say, my gosh, you think I'm an idiot and my cable's unplugged? A lot of times, that is the case. Laptop power plug got unplugged, battery got discharged, and someone thinks, oh boy, you know, my laptop must be dead because there's a bad system board or something. No, recheck your connection, pull the battery out, put that power cable back in, and 9 times out of 10, that thing starts working right away. Same thing goes for computer systems. The tower systems like this, you know, a lot of people, they like cable management. Cable management is great. The problem is people make these cables so taut, and they tie these cables up with such tight zip ties that as time goes on, they kick the cables a little bit with their feet under the desk, and these cables start coming out little by little by little. I see it all the time when we go out on some of these, false start service calls to fix a video cable that's just sort of coming out, or a power cable that was on the brink of being connected. So check your connections. It's, there's a reason that we say over the phone to check the connections, because a lot of the time that's a very, very simple fix that you could save yourself a service call on just by checking to make sure everything is nice and tight and snug on your system. A restart. Another thing that solves a lot of issues out there today. No computer's perfect. Even a smartphone needs a restart sometimes. Even a tablet needs a reboot. These are all computer systems at their heart, and they have complex processes that are running, and sometimes these things get frozen behind the scenes. And you could think that I don't do anything, I don't do that much on my system, why should it be freezing? It's a question we'll have to answer another time. But again, restarting your machine is something that can solve a lot of problems out there. There's something could have frozen. There could have been a device driver, a piece of hardware that froze on you. Rebooting. That doesn't just go for computer systems or tablets or phones. It goes for your internet connection. We get a lot of calls from people saying, internet doesn't work. Comcast says that it's not their line. There's no outage going on. Well, did you reboot all of your equipment? Did you reboot the wireless router you have? Did you reboot the modem you have in the home? Very important to do that. There are times where you have a little bit of a glitch in the communication between the devices, and they just need a kick in the rear, right? So turning them off, turning them on, and especially for the modem equipment, the equipment from your internet provider, they like to say wait that 1 minute, minute and a half or so, 2 minutes. Take that to heart. Don't plug things in too quickly, because again, you need that time period for that connection between your home and the internet provider to flush out. If you just unplug, replug, there could be residual power left in the modem that doesn't even let it turn off all the way completely, and the connection never flushes out for you. So please make sure that when the Comcast says or AT&T says wait 2 minutes before plugging in, you have to go ahead and make sure you do that. And of course, before you call someone like ourselves, the professionals in to come help you with internet problems, 9 times out of 10 internet problems are caused by, surprise, surprise, the provider themselves, Comcast, AT&T, if you're using a hotspot from Verizon or one of the other providers, T-Mobile. Usually calling them first about an internet connection being down is the best bet, because most of the time, that's what we're going to do if you're going to call us about the connection being down. So save the labor time that we're going to have to charge you for, call them yourself, and 2 things to always ask them. Can you please run a modem check on my modem, and can you please run a line test on my line? 2 magic words you have to ask the technician, because if you don't state those 2 magic questions, a lot of the technicians, of course, want to get you off the phone. Their job relies on them being quick and turning over customers that call in. But those are the 2 things that we always ask when we're dealing with line issues for customers. Please check my modem. Please run a line check for me. If you say those things, they have no choice but to go ahead and do that, because otherwise they're on the hook for being recorded, and they didn't do that as part of their job. So make sure you do ask about those 2 items, because actually just yesterday we had a Comcast situation at one of our business clients where it was a modem issue. The modem was starting to go bad, and if we didn't ask that question, Comcast was just going to say, you're all good, it's not our problem.
That applies to the mobile hotspot?
That does apply to mobile hotspots.
Okay.
That does apply to mobile
Because
hotspots.
we dropped the landline, so just I have my mobile hotspot now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, mobile hotspots in general are a little bit more stable because they're running off the cell towers, and the cell towers need to have higher levels of reliability, so you generally don't see as many problems. But again, there are times where the mobile hotspot can stop working or gets disassociated or is having problems connecting to some of the towers out there. Maybe they might need to push an update out to your hotspot. So it does happen. I have seen it happen. So yes, definitely make sure you call the provider if you're seeing any kind of funkiness going on, especially if you've done your reboot. You've done your reboot and you can see that the device is still not functioning. So as soon as you call them, you can say, don't even ask. I've done my reboot. I waited 2 minutes. Let's move on to the next troubleshooting question. Okay? So simple way to determine whether or not your internet's having problems, when to call the ISP, and also how to save yourself time on the phone by doing some of those things they're going to ask you anyway. Any questions about internet stuff? I guess that's actually a good junction point. Why don't I bring up the Wi-Fi stuff question that you brought up? Perfect spot to go ahead and include that. Rephrase your question one more time just so I can get a good sense of what it was that you were looking to find out. I know you brought up the hotspots, Ethernet,
Right, well, it's partly.
You're just trying to make sense of all these
I'm
terms?
trying to make sense of all the terms,
Okay.
and I'm trying to figure out how they might apply to using a printer with my iPad and printers, because I want to buy a new printer. So, you know, there's these new terms out there now in regards to printers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how does this all
E-print,
fit?
big new term. Yeah.
Right, and right, what's the other one? But anyway,
Wireless direct printing. is another
Yeah, there's
option
all
you can
these
do. So
terminology.
It's confusing. There's a lot of options out there, especially in the printer realm, that confuses us even sometimes. So the big terms: Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is what we use in our home. You have to get internet from your AT&T or your Comcast service, and you set up, or you have them provide you with Wi-Fi, traditional Wi-Fi. Same thing that the library uses and broadcasts for everyone. Wi-Fi has been around for a long time, highly reliable, highly stable. It's what we recommend for most homes that have a high dependence on a lot of activities that need a lot of uptime. So a lot of kids doing homework, people working out of the house, a lot of devices that need to use internet from the home. Regular Wi-Fi is your best bet. That's piggybacking off of a Comcast or WOW or AT&T style connection. So Wi-Fi is the same thing when you go to the library, when you go to Starbucks or to McDonald's. That's traditional Wi-Fi. And all that is internet that's just being rebroadcasted in a local area for someone to be able to share. That's really all Wi-Fi represents. Now you mentioned Ethernet. Ethernet is actually the older style term for internet, and it's basically, when you say Ethernet, most people assume you're talking about a wired connection going into your computer or your laptop. My laptop's plugged into an Ethernet connection the library has underneath the table. So it's the same thing as Wi-Fi, it's just delivered over a hardwire cable. It's a wired plug. Most businesses still rely on hardwired Ethernet for their business systems. Most people in homes, though, since running wires is very difficult in a home, we rely primarily on Wi-Fi, the wireless version. Hotspot is a relatively new technology. It's been around, well, it's been around since the mid-2000s in some form, but it's only gotten good in the last 3 or 4 years or so, and that's just Wi-Fi service that's provided from a little hockey puck style device or a little router that is provided by a cell tower carrier. So instead of you rebroadcasting Wi-Fi based off a landline connection like a Comcast or AT&T hardwire service, you're asking Verizon to give you a cell tower connection that comes into a little hockey puck, and that broadcasts Wi-Fi for the home. That's what a hotspot is. The nice part about hotspots is that you can use it at home and you can take it with you on the go.
But can I just say another
Go
nice
ahead.
thing about that
Yeah.
hotspot? For anybody that still has a landline, we finally dropped our landline in the last few years because every time there was a storm and we had our phone service through AT&T, the phone lines would go down, your internet goes down, you're spending hours on the phone with AT&T to try to get your service back. We finally had enough. We don't need a landline anymore. So if you have your cell phone, you may want to consider dropping your landline and just get a mobile hotspot, because it's like freedom for me. I don't have to spend hours on the phone calling AT&T. I have no internet. My phone line is down. It's
nice.
wonderful.
It's nice.
It's
Thank you
nice.
for bringing that up.
I love it.
The one caveat I will say is that if you are a household that uses a lot of multimedia downloading, a lot of Netflixing or Hulu or stuff like that, then you're a perfect use case for a
Right.
hotspot
Yeah.
because you're not sucking down a lot of juice.
Exactly.
But if you're sucking a lot of juice with movies you're downloading, a lot of kids doing homework online, a lot of heavy things that require a lot of internet bandwidth, the hotspots, the downside for them is that they are capped at a certain level. Just like your cell phone is capped at how much you can use, a hotspot provider will say, hey, you have 5 gigabytes or 10 gigabytes and you can't go over that. If you do go over that, you're paying a hefty premium for your overage on your data that you're using.
Casual user. I would say
Casual users can get away just fine with hotspots.
Yeah, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you have also a modem or the other thing for Wi-Fi, and you can still have that little disk?
Yep.
Well, in this case, she replaced that traditional system with the hotspot. So I'd say it's a situation of picking one that would suit you better.
And you take it with you when you travel.
So I
love it.
would not need my landline at all. I can
If
get-
you don't need a landline and you're sick and tired of what we were sick and tired of.
I guess I have to learn how to fax from here.
If you need traditional faxing, that you can't do over a hotspot, so
You can't,
cannot do it.
but Oh, so if I had to fax something, which
If you had to fax something, you'd maybe have to go to the library or FedEx office or something like that. How many faxes are we doing these
Why
days?
didn't you email it?
Not too many.
Just scan it and
Yeah.
Yeah,
I should- yeah.
emailing, scanning email is mostly what
Well-
I'm telling people to do these days. So, again, but if you have to fax it, I'd say it's more economical. Usually, just to pop over to FedEx office.
Are those expensive? Yeah.
Go ahead.
On the fax situation,
Sure.
the only concern I ever have on emailing certain information is that it's a secure line, because if you're faxing things with confidential information in terms of social security numbers, medical. or
Yeah,
whatever.
let me say this. See, the industry, well, healthcare is the culprit that I have to deal with that thinks that faxing is really secure. Faxing, just so you know, faxing is not really
Right.
secure.
Right.
Faxing can be intercepted just as easily as an email can. So
Okay.
from that perspective, faxing and email are relatively the same level of security.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to email, you can send an encrypted secure email, and usually if you're working with a healthcare provider, they can provide you a gateway to go ahead and do that, but most people don't have access to something like that. So, I don't know, from a security perspective,
The reason I brought it
in
up.
an email, even though you can also do this, you can password protect like a zip file and send that in an email, which you can't do in a fax
Right.
traditionally. So.
Yeah, it's really kind of knowing, because I didn't even think of this, but I worked in a HR department for a while, and they were always very clear that you had to be very careful that people didn't email things directly.
Yeah.
I mean, we did have an encrypted system and everything, but we had to make sure that that was what they were, was being used, not
Yeah.
just traditional
Yeah.
email.
Yeah, both faxes and email, the way you can think of its security is like a postcard that you send in through the post office, right? The likelihood of someone reading it other than the postal man, not very likely, but it can happen, right? And that's the way we need to think of email and fax services. They can be intercepted by someone if they really, really wanted to, unless it's encrypted email, which in that case renders that moot. So.
Right. It gets rather scary after a while when you learn that all your copier machines
Yeah.
can also be, in essence, hacked.
That's true. Yeah. Big copiers actually have, the ones in offices have hard drives, just so you know, if you work for an office that is looking to get rid of a big copier, you might want to make sure that that thing is sanitized, because there's a hard drive that sits inside of it, and that keeps I actually saw this on the news. There's a news story about this, that thieves and criminals are buying up these old copiers for pennies on the dollar, and they're taking the hard drives out, and what do these things have? Social security numbers, credit card numbers, bank account numbers that have been copied and are sitting on the hard drive, so it's a serious thing. A lot of people don't know about that. Go ahead, Ruth.
I asked our IT staff about that, about the public copiers.
Yes.
And they say they don't keep a memory.
That's good. They probably configured the setting that doesn't allow them to keep that stored. Again, that's a setting that can be controlled, but out of the box, most average businesses don't configure that. So I'm glad to hear the library has done the right thing and turned that off.
Aren't they
Yes.
required to clean up their hard drives before they get rid of
The problem with copiers is that most businesses don't think that copiers have hard drives. That's the problem. They don't know. Unless you have an IT person, someone like myself that's working there or provides support and can say, don't get rid of that copier till we get our hands on it, the average business owner wouldn't know Model A from Model B, which one has a hard drive. That's the reason it's so difficult for businesses to make sure that gets done properly. Because it's not that they're willingly or knowingly getting rid of these systems with the hard drives in there. They just don't know. The printer industry doesn't educate customers, unfortunately, about which models have an actual disk, which models have to be sanitized before they get recycled. So that's an education problem. I think that needs to start with the printer companies. So, any other questions about printer sanitation and Wi-Fi hotspots? A lot of great stuff.
Now, the Wi-Fi hotspots,
Yeah.
if you have a smartphone with internet service, you automatically have this Wi-Fi?
And that's the thing. Most people actually do have capability to piggyback off of their smartphone data service and use that as a hotspot. I use my Windows phone when I'm on the go and traveling and use that as a hotspot for myself. Now again, my data cap is pretty low, so I need to watch what I'm doing on there. I can't watch Netflix and YouTube day in, day out on that. But for an emergency and a pinch, works well for me. Some people that have a little bit higher plans, 2 gigabyte, 5 gigabyte caps, you can be a little bit more lenient with what you do off of that. But again, if you're looking to run a multimedia heavy home with a lot of Netflix off of that, you're not going to do it. That's not going to work. That's a use case that's not good for a hotspot scenario. But for someone like that doesn't do a lot of multimedia, just wants it for email, word processing, checking the bank accounts, that's a perfect case for doing hotspot. So, all right, let's keep moving. We got a lot of stuff to cover. We aren't even past slide 1 yet.
Well, wait, back to Wi-Fi and Ethernet
Yes.
and hotspots. So cellular fits in here where? Bluetooth fits in here where?
Cellular, now Bluetooth is different. Cellular fits in under the hotspot category.
Okay.
Hotspot is just taking a cellular signal and rebroadcasting it to make it your personal Wi-Fi.
Okay,
So cell and hotspot are the same thing almost.
okay.
And Bluetooth is a technology that is a wireless technology but has nothing to do with internet. Bluetooth is just what connects you and your devices between like your headset to your tablet or your earpiece to your smartphone. It's a technology that allows you to go cordless for things that otherwise need cords. That's
Okay,
all.
so where does ePrint fit into?
Oh, I almost forgot about ePrint. So, printers these days are coming with a new feature called ePrint. For those that don't know, if you want to print off of your smartphone or tablet, the day where you can now print off of those devices, I won't say seamlessly because there's still a lot of rough edges with it, but we're almost there where it's almost as easy to print off of a tablet or smartphone as it is on a computer system. ePrint is a technology you want to look for if you're buying a new printer. I know for a fact that all of HP's new models have ePrint, so that is a safe bet for you. And HP usually does a very good job with their printers. And I think Brother as well, we recommend a lot. Brother is including ePrint with a lot of their newer models. And again, ePrint, come on in. Come join us. And ePrint is a free technology that pretty much allows you to configure the printer and download an app for your tablet or your smartphone. And the printer pretty much in essence gets an email address assigned to it from HP or Brother. And that email address is what's given to your ePrint account. And when you connect your tablet or smartphone to that ePrint account, you can then send prints off the mobile devices to that printer anywhere you are in the world, actually. You can print from anywhere.
And currently, if you were at home and your printer went down, the Niles Library has a similar system.
Oh, well, look at that.
So you can send a print job from your computer to the Niles Library and come here and pick it up. Our print jobs stay for at least 90 minutes in our queue, and you get to that place directly from our website. So, and if you are in the library or on your smartphone, you can do something very similar, but you do have to put in the web address, which is an email address that you put in. But all the directions are online, so I don't want to keep more time. Okay? So, more of that ePrint stuff.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, it's becoming harder and harder not to get a printer with ePrint or to get a printer without ePrint. So it's becoming fairly ubiquitous these days. But again, if you really want the technology, make sure you check for it because usually the cheapest printers don't include that. They sometimes don't have Wi-Fi built into them or a hardware Ethernet port that you can use to connect it to your home connection. So you just got to make sure that it says it has ePrint. And like I said, HP, almost all their models have ePrint these days.
I have ePrint. So you mean if I'm downtown, I can just print something from downtown, it'll go to my computer?
As long as it's set up properly, yes, it should work.
I mean, I do use it at home, but I didn't know I could go away and...
You should be able to use it anywhere.
Okay, I will try that.
There's another option that a lot of people use that it was a technology that came out before ePrint called Wireless Direct. So if you're using that and just mistaking the term, you may be limited to just printing from the home. But if it's true ePrint,
I have ePrint.
if it's true ePrint, then you should be able to print anywhere you are. Okay? Yes?
So is there any distinction between ePrint and anything that might be involving an iPad or an iPhone or whatever? Is that?
Same technology. Apple might call it a little different AirPrint, I think they might call it, but it runs off the same basic technology ePrint.
So
Apple just makes their own name for a lot of this stuff.
No kidding. So if it says ePrint, I can do
If it says
AirPrint.
ePrint from HP, I know for a fact it's compatible with all AirPrint stuff.
Okay.
So you should be fine.
Sorry, can you ask you something? Can you
Yes.
quickly repeat the screening thing so I'm
I didn't even go into cleaning. We're just getting into it. You made it just in time. See, this is my favorite part of class. So, if you didn't know, dust does kill computers. This is not a system we had come in, but we've had similar systems come into our office that were nearly almost as bad, but this system takes the cake. I found that picture online. If you bring your system in for service with us, this is one of the first things we do on your computer. We clean it out because 9 times out of 10, PCs are caked up with a lot of dust inside, especially systems that are sitting at ground level and the ground dust. Homes with a lot of pets inside the home, those are the worst machines. They have a lot of dust that comes inside that system. So you can do what we do for your system. You can use compressed air. I have been raving about this little device. Actually, all of my technicians, and I carry one of these. You can go on Amazon, 55 bucks. I think it even ships free with Amazon Prime. It's called a data vac. It's a small little high-intensity blower that you can get. And this works on things other than just computers. This works on keyboards. I mean, we clean PC screens with this, and anything else that may need a little bit of a dusting. This is great. So as opposed to spending, $10, $15 on a 3-pack of compressed air that'll last you, a few button presses, this thing will last you nearly forever. So
What's it
very,
called?
very good $55 device.
What's it called?
Data vac. It's called the Metro Data Vac, all one word. DATAVAC, Data Vac. Cheap way to keep your computers nice and clean and dust-free. How do you clean your system with compressed air? Yes?
With a device like that or any kind of compressed air,
Yes.
is there a danger of just moving dust around to someplace else where it causes trouble elsewhere?
There is, which is why we want to make sure we're doing this outside or on the home patio, preferably. Don't do this inside the home, so you're not just circulating the air within the home, back into your lungs, worse, and also back into the system.
Of dust just moving from one place in the computer to another.
It's always a possibility. On laptops, it's tougher to determine that because you can't get into it like we can most of the time, so that's a little bit tougher. But on towers like this, which is what I'm going to run my demonstration off of here really quick, you can see almost every nook and cranny on this system. So a simple tower like this, let me bring my little Vanna White card out over here. PC Tower, still very popular. The basic premise is the same for most computer systems these days. Again, these are just easy to demonstrate because they're so nice and large and easy to look into. Again, if you have a Mac system, you're not going to be able to easily get into it as with a PC tower like this. But again, every computer system, unless it's fanless, there are very few computers that are fanless. The Surface or the newest of the newest MacBooks, very few computers. Most computers have some kind of a fan that circulates air, bringing in the cool air, circulating that air within the system, and cooling down all the components on the inside. Basic premise of computing that's been around since computers came out. So very simply, if you have a very traditional tower like this, computer system like this, which a lot of our customers still purchase, they have a side door that you can open up, and mine has a thumb screw on it, so it makes it very easy. You might need to use a Phillips screwdriver to take off the 2 screws on the side door. The very easy way to tell which door needs to come off, this one or the one on the other side, you just need to look for the door that's usually opposing all of the ports on the back of the computer. So the opposing side is usually the door that's going to come off and allow you access into the system. Just think about it. If I open the door, how am I going to be able to see all the parts in the system board? So system board usually sits on the opposing side of the side that has the removable door on it. Okay? So as soon as the 2 screws come off of the system, I can pop that door off very easily for myself. And again, you don't have to worry about damaging anything as long as you're not poking your fingers in here or, worst thing I hear people do is using a vacuum cleaner. They think using a vacuum cleaner is such a great thing on the computer. In theory, it sounds like a good idea, but it's not a good idea because the problem is those computer systems usually have or the computer cleaners, the ones that people try to use, have brushes on them. As you're brushing over all the components, you're causing static electricity go over all the boards. So static back to the card, static back to the memory, static back to the power supply. It's just a lovely energy feel that you're just creating in there, and 9 times out of 10, we see someone that fries out. We had just someone a few months ago that the kid tried to clean out the system with a vacuum cleaner, fried out the board. We had to do a board replacement for that computer. It was not cheap, but again, you should not be using a vacuum cleaner on a system. Data vac is much, much safer on a machine. Inside of a computer is very similar, as long as it's a tower system like this. And again, some systems you may not be able to open up. Even if you can't open the system up, you've probably got a back fan on the power supply or a circulation fan on the back of the unit. You can use that data vac to go ahead and spray it on the fans in the back. You probably have some front vents that you can go ahead and clean out. So again, just use best judgment. Take a look and see, or even feel with your hand, where is the air flowing from and out of? Any system, any modern system, unless it's a fanless machine, you'll be able to feel where that airflow is coming from and going into. So very, very simple for you to go ahead and do. Laptops also have the same thing. Almost every laptop out there has a little circular area for a fan slot and also a vent, and you can easily use a data vac just like we do. Dust out that dust, and you'll see how much has been collecting in that machine for you. The biggest places inside of a desktop tower to go ahead and make sure you clean, the one that will probably be caked up the most is the fan that covers the main processor in here. And it's the biggest fan you'll see right directly inside. Over here, some of them are facing down or another direction, but some of the more traditional ones just face directly towards you. And again, you're just going to want to use the data vac, clean out all the innards of that system. And again, I recommend you do this outside, because if you're just doing it right next to the computer, fine, you dusted it out, all dust fell next to the computer, and that's just going to get sucked back up over the next 3 weeks. You're not doing yourself any justice by doing that. Take the thing in the patio. We take all of our systems outside of our office, just outside our glass door, to dust out the systems. You want to make sure that gets out in the environment, not inside the home. Save your lungs the bad dust, and save your computer from the headache of keeping that dust inside the machine. So this is a process you can do very easily. $55 data vac. I would do this, probably recommend it every 6 to 8 months or so. If you've got a pet with a home with a lot of pets inside, or a computer that sits on the ground, you just know you have a lot of dust. I have some clients that say, my home is just so dusty, and I don't know where it comes from. If you've got one of those homes, you might want to do this every 3 or 4 months for yourself.
How far away should you have the can of spray? How far away should you hold that can to clean the innards?
Use best judgment, because some cans are not as powerful as others. And also some of the dust, if it's caked down a lot harder, you may need to go a little bit closer to get the intensity up a little bit further.
Okay.
You're not going to do any kind of damage to that system board. Compressed air or even a data vac does not have the power to bend capacitors or anything out of shape. I mean, you need an industrial size blower of some sort to do that. So don't fear you're going to ruin anything or damage anything. Get in there, clean that system out nicely. You can extend the life of your machine another 30-40% easily by keeping it nice and dust free.
Is it okay if you had like a thin little paintbrush to dust out with a brush, or not even bother? Like
I wouldn't recommend it for the average person. I mean, we do it sometimes because we know what parts not to touch. So I'm not going to sit here and give you a list of things you can't touch and can't, because you won't remember which ones those are. I would probably say, if you're that concerned about hitting all the right spots, ditch the compressed air, get a data vac to clean out the system. 3 packs of compressed air will pay for 1 data vac easily. So, well worth the investment. And that thing will last you an easy 8 to 10 years or more. So.
And do the keys also here on the laptop.
Do the keyboard, do the laptop keyboard. We do the whole laptop when we clean out the laptop. The keyboard screen interior, especially in the matte screens, they got a little bit of a rim, an inner part where the dust likes to collect in there. Get the whole thing, the vents, the keyboard, the touchpad, everything.
I don't have to take anything
Just be
apart.
careful. We have had some laptops where people had some damn keys that were damaged and on the brink of falling off. The data vac will suck that key and push that key right off on you. So again, that's only if you have damaged keys on your keyboard. If your laptop keyboard doesn't have any damage, you don't have to worry about damaging any of the keys.
There's nothing I have to open up. I just do it from those vents on the
You
bottom.
just do it from those vents. Again, if it comes in for repair, we usually take off the back cover on the laptop and really get in there nicely inside the vents, but I'm not going to recommend the average person to do that, because some laptops are very hard and easy to break things inside when you go into them. So, okay? So that's my 4-minute spiel on keeping the PC nice and clean, okay? Very easy to do, very easy preventative maintenance, and you can easily extend the life of any system for that. 2 things that don't need dusting, since they don't have fans, are tablets and smartphones. So they are all sealed. They don't need any kind of dusting of this nature. But computer systems usually do. Data vac also works well. I clean out my Xbox with it. If you have a TiVo or DVR from your cable company, it'll work on any of those systems too. All those devices have little fans and vents on the back. Clean those things out too, unless you want to be paying for replacements much sooner than you have to. Alright, one of our favorite tools is a little program called CCleaner. If you come in for service with us, if you have a Mac or a PC computer, more than likely we're going to install CCleaner on that unit. CCleaner is a great tool that you can download for free. You can find it right on Google. It is a program that actually does 3 important functions. Its cleaner functionality allows you to, just as it says, clean out all that junk on your system. The temp files, the cookies, the temporary installation files from old programs you've installed, other stuff that gets left behind by programs in different spots. This program is made to seek and destroy all that stuff that sort of collects behind the scenes. Now, most computers are meant to go ahead and go in and do automated cleanings for themselves to get rid of a lot of those files, but they don't always do a good job. This program ensures all the junk gets taken away behind the scenes. We have some computers that come in where we're able to reclaim 5, 10, 15 gigabytes of free space on their hard drive just by running the cleaning aspect of this program. It does a very good job, and I'd recommend you do it. Even if you don't do it once a month, every half year, every 3, 4, 5 months, probably not a bad bet to go ahead and use this cleaner. If you've got kids using the system, even more so, because the kids are on all the game websites, and the game websites are always the ones that collect a lot more junk on your computer system.
So then that will help speed up the computer?
It will help speed it up a little bit. Again, it depends on what the issue is with your machine. Not all computers are running slow just because of temp files, but this is one of those things that it doesn't hurt to clean out those junk files that's sitting behind the scenes. If you have a really bad system that has a lot of temp files, that 5, 10 gigabyte situation I told you about, which is not that common, but it happens sometimes. I mean, you may see a 5 to 10% performance boost just from that. It's a big deal if you have that much junk on the system.
Now, how does it clean it out? Do you have to click on it, or?
You pretty much go into the program. It has a button that says over here, it says cleaner.
Oh,
you go in and you say
okay.
run cleaner. Now a little button over here that says run cleaner. That's all you have to do. It's got a lot of check marks. Check for different areas on the machine that it looks through, and it actually looks to see what programs you have. It's got specialized cleaning that it does for Java, Office, Adobe Reader, iTunes. All these programs that leave behind gunk, only this program knows how to go in and clean out those special areas. So it'll go ahead and automatically select all those options for you before you even start the cleaning.
That's automatically built in?
To the program. This is not built into Windows. You still have to get this program. But once you get the program and you launch this, then you can run it and run the cleaning aspect
So
of it.
is the program a disk that you put in?
The program's a free download. You go online. Just type in Google CCleaner. The first result will be the legitimate website for CCleaner. You can download it. Completely free. If you pay for it, you got taken for a ride because CCleaner is a free
How
product.
they make money?
Huh?
How is this program to make money?
Well, they have a professional version. They sell to businesses and large enterprises, so they make money. Trust me. They're very popular. They have a big name on the internet these days, so they're very good.
There's no ads.
We can do it while we.
There is no ads. During installation, you can uncheck an option that installs Google Toolbar. That's the only form of advertising I know of that they bundle with their product. But as far as usage, there's no ad that show anywhere within the actual program. Good tool. I've been using it professionally now for over 6 years. It's a long time. This program's been on the market for a while, and they are very, very good. Yes?
Does it work well for Apple?
Yes.
Okay.
We use it on Apple systems all the time. Yeah. Especially if you have a lot of multimedia you're doing, a lot of iTunes, a lot of web browsing on an Apple system. I mean, on average, I see Apple machines that can free up about 1 to 2 gigabytes on those machines just by running CCleaner. So, yeah, they have an Apple version that runs very, very well.
So
as well.
if they have a specific version.
It's a special version just for Mac. Yeah, it's a little bit newer, hasn't been around as long, but they're releasing it every month with updates just like on the Windows side now.
Now I have something like that on my phone. Is that a good thing to have on your phone?
Phones really don't collect that much junk. Phones have very small areas where they can store stuff, so the phone manufacturers have very tight processes for clearing out the junk on your phone. I've never seen a program like this that was good that exists for the phone or that is needed. So maybe there will be a day where we need it, but at least yet, I would recommend doing that on your phone or tablet. It's just not necessary. Okay? So that's CCleaner. So again, that's just one aspect of it. You can run the cleaner. It's got a registry cleaner as well that goes in the registry in Windows. There's no registry on Mac. There's another aspect on Mac called permissions fix. Since the Mac uses, I think, called user permissions, that this can go ahead and clean up. So on the Windows side, you'll see registry cleaning. On the Mac version, you'll see permissions cleanup. And that's pretty much going in behind the scenes and cleaning up some of the special stuff that Windows or Mac uses to make the system run. So you can also go ahead and run that for yourself.
So you have to click each and every one that you want.
Yeah, you have to go through the separate areas. So go through Cleaner, you'll go through Registry and do Scan for Issues. And then if you feel comfortable, you can go in under Tools, and there's an area where you can clean up your startup items, both for Mac and Windows. So that stuff that starts behind the scenes that we do professionally when systems come in, you can do that as well on the system. Now, be careful. I'm not telling you to go in and delete everything on the list, because there's a lot of things that are required. Antivirus, drivers for devices on your system. So if you don't feel comfortable with that last part, startup items, I would recommend not to go in and do that, because you can kill a computer very easily with that by doing the wrong thing.
The 2 things.
But the 2 ones up here, I never killed a computer with in any way. The cleaning aspect and the registry cleaning on there. Very simple preventative maintenance you can do. Okay? All right, power strips. Now, luckily, I've never seen any power strip this bad at anyone's home, but I've seen situations that are getting close to it. Don't daisy chain power strips in this nature. By design, best practice is to be using one power strip going to one wall outlet at a time. Don't daisy chain. And most of all, don't put the little 3-prong adapters on ports to do a daisy chain like that. I don't like seeing those in situations, especially when there's a lot of computer equipment involved, because you lose and you tend to lose the protection qualities that are gained from a nice surge protector when you start doing that. And the other thing is, you want to make sure that you are not using old crusty power strips. And one thing you need to know, a lot of people don't know about this. I have to help people all the time when we go on service calls. There's a thing as a power strip, there's a thing known as a surge protector. There are different things. Some stores like to call them the same thing to get you to, buy one that you're not looking for. And the power strips tend to be a little bit cheaper in general, but power strips, one big thing that they do not do is they don't protect against lightning strikes. They don't protect against big brownouts, things that sag on the line and affect the electrical input into your computer system or its accessories. You want to make sure that you're not using a traditional power strip. A power strip is nothing more than a bona fide extra set of outlets on a cord that you get. And that's one thing I would recommend not using on any important computer device or multimedia devices like Xboxes, PlayStations, home theater devices. I would recommend that you make sure you have a surge protector on all of those devices. And a simple way to tell is look for the little light that says protected. I don't have any sample power strip or surge protector here, but any surge protector will show you that it's protected by a little light. And if you don't see the light that says protected on it, it is not a surge protector. It's just a power strip.
Okay, so we're not talking about the switch.
Not talking about the switch. The switch is just an on-off switch. A surge protector usually has a formal light that says protected and grounded. The nice ones also tell you whether you're grounded or not. But at the very least, they will have a light that says protected. Protected means that the fuse inside that surge protector has not been blown yet. You haven't had a big lightning strike that's hit the house yet. If you're using a surge protector that doesn't have a light, that has a light that doesn't have a light, get a surge protector that has one. If you have a surge protector that has the light that's off, that means that surge protector did its job already. It protected you against a catastrophic power event that hit the home in some way. So you want to make sure you replace it. Once that light goes out, that becomes just a regular power strip. So
Okay,
don't be confused.
By light go out, what's the difference between a light going out and a red light?
Now, see, some of them have a system where they have a green light for protected and a red light that comes on when it's not protected. It depends on the make and model that you get.
Okay.
We like to recommend the units from Belkin. You can go to Home Depot, spend at least $15 on a nice surge protector from Belkin, and they have very nice lights on there. Tell you whether you're grounded, tell you whether or not your surge aspect of your protector is working. So a few dollars can save you a lot of headache, because when that computer gets blown due to a lightning strike and you're only using a power strip, everyone tells me, boy, I wish that I spent that $15 or $20 to prevent this $300 repair that you're coming in to do for me now.
Wouldn't you have that on your television and everything? I mean,
you should have it on all the expensive devices in the home. Yeah, not just the computer. I mean, it's the only part I care about, but if you want to protect your TV, most definitely. Have a surge on the expensive TV set, have it on the TiVo, have it on the DVR box. I mean, all these things are susceptible to electronic damage due to electrical strikes, lightning strikes.
Well, in the interim, I'm going away, I can just unplug it till
You can unplug it, yeah. That helps.
And then.
But again, if you're not home when something
no,
hits.
I can get them, I mean, when I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, Home Depot, Menards, just look for Trip Light or Belkin. Those are our two favorite companies. They make great equipment for very cheap. I mean, $15, $20, and you've got a rock solid surge protector. It doesn't cost a lot to keep yourself protected.
It's called surge protector.
It's called surge protector.
Not,
don't buy something that's just called Power Strip.
Okay.
Power Strip is not what you want.
And you said these come at Home Depot?
Home Depot is usually where I find a nice selection of them. They carry a lot of Belkin ones over there, and like I said, $15, $20. You can buy the same thing we carry around in our cars when we service customers. So, great units. Yes.
So after the lightning strike, then that surge protector is no good anymore.
Well, it depends. See, not every lightning strike's harsh enough to blow the fuse on a surge protector. So I will say it depends. You have to watch that light and make sure that light is still lit. Either a green light for still being protected, or whether the light itself is just on, saying that the fuse is still good or not. But keep an eye on that. And in general, I tell people, even if that light is still on and that surge protector you've had for 7, 8 years, I like to tell people replace that regardless, just to make certain that you don't have a faulty surge protector protecting your computer system. So especially for the most expensive devices, the computers and the big TV set in the home, I would replace that surge protector regardless every 7 to 8 years. Like I said, $20, it's cheap investment to keep that $2,000 TV from busting. So, okay. Cleaning keyboards. You can use a data vac to clean off that keyboard, but I've actually tested the dishwasher based on some things I've run online, and it works.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong, this actually does work. It's 100% safe. I actually was cleaning a customer's laptop keyboard because it was so nasty in the dishwasher as well. As long as it's a regular wired keyboard and you place it in there, usually place a little bit of rubber band on the cord to keep it nice and tight so it doesn't get caught in the cleaning device. Or if it's a wireless keyboard, make sure you take the batteries out of it. But more often than not, it'll work just fine right after the wash cycle.
Wow.
As long as you go ahead and clean it, don't use any soap on that wash cycle. Let it dry out for at least a day, day and a half or so. Especially now since summertime's coming up, you can just put it on the balcony or the patio and let it sit there and dry out. That thing will work like a charm. You'll get all the dust out of it. You'll get all the keys nice and clean. All that grit that's hard to get out, even with a data vac, a blower like this, works pretty well. It doesn't cost you, well, anything more than the cost of a washing cycle.
What setting did you put it on when you put it in there?
I would do it on the least aggressive setting. Don't do the high power
Like a
wash
light-
setting. Just
light
do
wash?
a light wash is all it needs. All you're looking to do is get that keyboard in there, get that cycle going, get the water to be spraying and all over the keyboard, within the keys, because there's a lot of areas behind the keys that is hard for even a blower to get into. But a wash cycle will go ahead and get all that grit, all the dust, all the crumbs, right?
My
Everyone
husband-
eats
my
at
husband's
eats
not
at their
gonna believe
keyboard.
that.
Don't tell me you don't, because I do it. So
My husband's not going to believe that.
No.
believe it.
I'm going to tell
I
you.
tested it. I've done customers' laptops and keyboards on it. It works.
With these cleaners, you can put this.
You don't put cleaners in there. No soap.
Oh no.
Wash cycle without soap.
Yes.
You put soap, I can't guarantee the results afterwards.
I mean.
But a wash cycle just on lukewarm water, on a light wash cycle, keyboard should work just fine. I do at least 2-3 wash cycles a year on various keyboards that we have in our household and our office, and it works. So
Oh, just rinse or
just a rinse cycle, yeah. Half-hour rinse cycle, and it'll do its wonders. So some people thought that was a myth. That's not a myth. It works. Defragmentation. This is something that a lot of people used to do on computer systems back in the day, especially in Windows XP and Windows 2000 and Windows 98, times like that. But the thing that most people don't know is computer systems these days, anything made since about 2003 or so, they are defragmenting themselves behind the scenes. So I wouldn't waste the time. I wouldn't put your computer through the extra stress and wear of doing defragmentation cycles every month. Don't worry about it because the computers are doing it on their own. Mac systems have been doing it for at least 6 to 8 years, and Windows has been doing it, as far as I know, since Windows Vista. So that's about 2006 or so.
What do you mean by defragging?
Defragmentation, if you've never done that before, had that as part of your maintenance routine, all it does is it takes a hard drive. So this is a representation of a hard drive where all the data is on a drive, and it pretty much takes all the data that sits in different parts of the drive and moves it to the front part of the drive for you. So it keeps it nice and compact. In technical speak, it allows the drive to work a little bit faster because it doesn't have to go out and seek all those items in a larger area on the drive. Everything's nice and compact, so those heads on the hard drive can just be looking at things in a very sequential manner. If you have a computer system that has the newer SSD style disk drive inside of it that doesn't have a traditional hard drive, this is meaningless entirely, because once you have an SSD, you have pretty much just a bona fide USB flash drive as your hard drive. So this is irregardless completely.
So SSD drive, is that something you're going to cover in saving money on your computing needs, or?
And potentially, I don't know if I'm going to exactly touch on that, but again, is it something that you've heard about or something you're looking to?
I just heard about it from you, and now I'm wondering what it is.
Oh, so I guess I should have made a whole slide on SSD. SSD is the replacement for traditional hard drives, right? So traditional hard drives are nothing more than glass discs or metal discs inside of a metal, well, there's a hard drive inside this system. It's hard to see, I can't take it out, but this is a hard drive for this computer. It's a little 3.5-inch device that sits in the machine. That's where all of your data is stored. That's where your Windows or Mac system gets installed. That's where all your data sits. The problem with traditional hard drives like that is that after about 6-7 years, they start to wear out exponentially, and there's a point where they will die. Every kind of hard drive will die at some point. If you run that machine to the ground, you're going to pretty much run it till the hard drive dies, because that's most of the time the first thing that will be going out on the computer system.
And you just can't pull it out and replace it?
You can, if you catch it in time, you can do that. Or if you just wait till it dies and we get a new one and put it in there, you can definitely replace it. But I would not recommend to waiting till it dies, because most of the time it catches people off guard, and there's a lot of times where they don't have the things backed up that they need to. So you usually want to make sure a sign that you can listen to on your hard drive to tell if it's dying or not is clicking noises. Clicking patterns of noises coming from it that doesn't sound like a fan. That's like a tick, 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 something like that, or scratching noise from inside the machine. That's usually a telltale sign that your hard drive is starting to have issues and starting to go out. And that will usually be coupled with problems in using the computer. It'll be slow, it'll take forever to turn on. That's a telltale sign also that the machine is maybe starting to have hard drive issues.
And those things apply to laptops as well as?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. Laptops are even more sensitive because we jostle them around, we toss them around, and then those little traditional hard drives have even less space inside of them. They get even hotter inside of a laptop, so they go through more wear and tear than a traditional desktop. So they're even more at risk. So laptops these days, we are usually giving people the option always to put an SSD in as a replacement if their regular hard drive dies, because SSDs don't have any mechanical moving parts, they run much cooler, they save more on battery life, they are the ideal replacement for a hard drive, traditional hard drive. But they do cost more. You pay a premium for an SSD. If you're buying a laptop or a new computer desktop with an SSD, you can expect to pay about a 10 to 15% premium for that machine. It does cost more. But you get more performance, and you get a longer lifespan from that drive, from that premium.
SSD hard drive.
SSD. A lot of people say, even I mistakenly say SSD hard drive, and SSD is not a hard drive, but most people just recognize a hard drive as a hard drive, so.
Is it latest machine comes with SSD?
Not always, no. Most computers still sold come with traditional drives because the price point is still cheaper. So you usually have to upgrade, go to the premium model to go ahead and get an SSD inside of it. The only machines that come standard with it is like the MacBook Air, the nice little MacBook Air laptops, or the Surface, Microsoft Surface tablet laptop hybrids, but most computer desktops do not come with SSDs yet, unfortunately. Okay? All right, let's keep going. How to save power on your laptop or mobile device. A lot of people complain to us and say, how can I just get more battery life out of my mobile device? It's not lasting long enough. 3 things that I recommend to anyone that complains to us with these kind of symptoms. First thing you want to do and you can do this on any mobile or tablet device, is turn down your screen timeout. By default, a mobile device usually has a screen timeout period of 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Right? So this is a time period from you doing something on your mobile device, you stop doing something, and how much time it has before the screen time's out. Turn that down, especially for your mobile phone. Don't leave it on the 2 minute or 5 minute setting. Turn that down. I use 30 seconds on my smartphone. 30 seconds. Again, you want to make it as short as possible. There isn't such a thing as being too short, right? There might be a 10-second or 15-second setting that might be too aggressive, but again, make it as short as you can, because the biggest battery suck in any smartphone or tablet is the display. There is a light that needs to light up and get that screen lit, and it also has a touch device inside of it, so you can touch the device. All those things suck battery power. And that's the biggest thing that ruins your battery life, is your screen timeout.
And you can do this on your setting, right? Just
Yes.
screen.
There's a different setting area for all the devices, but every mobile device made that I know of has a setting for the screen timeout.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes for laptops. Laptops also have screen timeouts. Laptop screens are big, 14, 15, or you have a 17-inch laptop screen. You are wasting a lot of battery for every second that screen is on when you're on battery power. Turn down your timeout. Second thing you do is you can enable hard drive spin down. This only applies to laptops that have traditional hard drives. A hard drive, again, is a mechanical moving device that's spinning at 5,000 or 7,000 rotations per minute. It takes a lot of power to keep that thing spinning. And there's a setting on laptops, especially Windows 7, Windows 8, and the new Windows 10 coming out, where you can set it to turn off the hard drive after, it's usually set to 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I would say turn that down to like 5 or 10 minutes for yourself. It's called, I forgot what the exact term is called. Shut off hard drive. I think it's called shut off hard drive on the system. So as soon as you come back to it, if the hard drive's off, it'll spin back up and start working when you need it, but at least you're not wasting all that battery power and all those rotations happening when you're not doing anything with the laptop. Third thing you can do, and it applies to all laptops and smartphones and tablets, is turn your brightness down. Most devices, you can set a setting that is called auto brightness, and then adjust it based upon the light, a fluorescent light or sunlight that you have where you're using the actual device. Some devices you have to set it only manually, but most Android, iPhone, and Windows Phone devices or tablets, they have a setting for automatic brightness that you can use. And I would recommend using that because it'll turn it up when it's in a harsh sunlight and turn it down when you're in like a setting like driving in the car at night or within the house and you have dim light towards the nighttime hours. So I would definitely recommend using that because again, not only is the screen just being on wasting battery, but the brighter it is, the more battery you're wasting for that screen brightness. So number 1 and number 3, if you go ahead and make those settings their optimal settings, I would say you can probably gain back another 10, 20, 25% of your battery life on a mobile phone or a tablet just by doing those 2 things. I guarantee it. And on number 4, I should have added on to here, that is something that's especially come up more recently, is on a tablet or a mobile phone, turn off all the radio devices you're not using. If you don't use Bluetooth, why leave it on? Turn off Bluetooth. Turn off NFC. NFC is the thing where you can tap to pay at the smart Starbucks or at the bank or at Target, things like that. Most people still aren't using NFC. Turn that off. You're wasting battery power to broadcast a signal that you're not doing anything with. Shut off all the radios that you're not using. If you don't use Wi-Fi on your device, turn off the Wi-Fi. You can save yourself another 5% battery right there. Especially Bluetooth. Bluetooth is a very power-hungry radio that you want to make sure you turn off when you're not using it. When I don't use Bluetooth on my phone, I'm always tapping the icon to turn off my Bluetooth to get myself more battery life. So again, a little bit of a pain in the rear to have to keep those radios off, but if you have a problem with battery life, keep those few things in mind. You can definitely get some good battery life back for yourself.
What about the task managers? Does that help?
The what? Task manager?
On the smartphone.
It does. The one that has the worst time with this are the Android phones and Android tablets because they have a problem with things just getting a little out of control behind the scenes in terms of tasks. So if you have an Android device, I would say yes, you can probably save a little bit of battery life with that. But more so, is not as much battery life, that's more so comes into play with performance. If you have too much running on an Android device, you're going to notice it to run sluggishly. Now, my Android tablet has got some decent horsepower. If I'm running too much on there behind the scenes, I need to close things out because it starts chugging away a little bit on me. So, a little bit for battery life, but a lot more for your usability. You're going to be able to help the usability and make it cleaner to use by keeping the stuff turned off.
And also so many applications, right?
What's that?
On your iPhone, so many applications when it is running on the back.
The iPhone actually has technology to turn off some things. It only allows a certain number of things to run behind the scenes, so they auto-kill some items behind your back to help save on battery life. So it's not as much of a problem on iPhone. All right, 3 critical areas that you should be watching your updates for, okay? This is something, if you bring an assistant to us at the office, we are doing this for you to make sure you are up to date. But you need to make sure that you're doing this for the long haul on your own to make sure you're getting these updates. So the first thing is your Windows updates or your Mac patches, or from the Mac store they call it, the OS X updates that come out. So you want to make sure that you're getting your Windows updates done and your Mac updates done on your system. Those are the most important. Those are what protect you from all the newest security threats that come out, vulnerabilities that get exploited by all the attackers and the bad guys out there in the world. We want to make sure we're keeping up with this. And it doesn't just apply to the computer devices. Tablets have updates that come out. iPads have updates that come out. Smartphones have updates that come out. So if you get a notification that says update your system to this version, run that update, especially on a mobile or a tablet device. Not only are they fixing security holes, but they're improving performance. They're improving battery life with those updates. Run those updates. Don't just ignore them. Antivirus updates. You want to make sure that you're running antivirus or any malware software more correctly on your Mac or Windows system, and you want to make sure that that program is getting its updates on a daily basis. A program like ESET that we recommend gets its updates and does it automatically on a day-to-day basis. But again, we get some people that don't renew that software and come into us and say, well, I had the program on there, but I got all these infections on my machine. Well, you didn't actually pay for your renewal. You didn't renew the security software on there, and therefore you weren't getting your updates for the product. So don't fall victim to that. The other one is your third-party applications. These are the big 3 that have a lot of security holes in them that get targeted by all the criminals these days. Flash not as much because YouTube stopped using Flash very recently, so it's becoming less and less of an issue, but a lot of websites still rely on the Flash player to deliver multimedia content, so you want to make sure that those updates are going on. The 2 other big nasty ones, Adobe Reader and Java. Not as much on the web running with Java these days, but it's still out there and it's still being used. So you want to make sure that these 3 are getting their updates on a consistent basis. And the nice thing is, these things have auto updaters built into the programs that will alert you when the updates are out. Don't ignore them. That's all I ask. Please don't ignore them.
What does Java do?
Java is to make a technical explanation very short, it is a platform that allows a lot of applets within web pages to function. A lot of banking websites, unfortunately, still rely on Java. A lot of educational content that was made in the mid-2000s relies on Java. It is something that it can be where a developer can make an applet and run it on all kinds of different machines.
Is that something that would be on a smartphone? Or in a tablet?
Not necessarily in its own form on a tablet device, no. No. This primarily applies to computer systems.
If you don't have it, should you download it?
If you don't have it, you more than likely may not need it. So I wouldn't download it, because then you got one more thing you need to make sure that you keep updated.
Okay.
Now it's different. There's no Java anymore?
Java's starting to become extinct slowly, but it's one of those things that's probably going to be here for the next 3 or 4 years with us. It's one of those things we try to kill, but it's hard to kill. So we're not there yet. So until that happens, just make sure you're watching your updates on these nasty 3. All right, security. The Mac security myth for all my Mac users. They come to me all the time. I actually had a business we went into this week. Nice little construction consulting firm. They have 2 Mac systems. And one of the systems was about 3 or 4 years old already. And they went up to me and they said, what the heck are all these pop-ups coming from? And all these advertising pop-ups coming up. And One of my technicians looked into it a little more deeply, and we found out there was advertising malware sitting on that Mac system, putting pop-ups on them and advertisements, and they were just so sick of it because the computer was running slow and getting frozen up, and lo and behold, we ran a full scan with our ESET program, and we found out that there was at least 30 or 40 infections on that system with advertising engines and things like that. So the stuff's becoming more prevalent, it's out there. Everyone knows the Windows side has it, the Mac side also has it as well. There's a brief little history, a little chart I put up of all the big viruses that have come out for the Mac up there. And again, the reason that you just haven't heard about Macs becoming as infected as Windows machines is not necessarily because they're more secure. There have already been numerous articles and studies put out that say that actually Microsoft has caught up and has beat Apple in the security factor. The problem is there's a lot more bad guys wanting to get at the Windows machines because there are many billions and billions more Windows systems than Mac systems. But in the United States, we have an anomaly because we have a big Mac population here in the US. And as Mac gets more and more popular, the bad guys that want to extort money from all these people that usually have a little more expendable income, they are making malware for the Mac side of things. So it's just a matter of economics. It's not a matter of who's more secure, who's less secure. It's who is a bigger target. And now that Macs make up at least 10% of the US market, they are becoming a very juicy target for all the criminals out there. So again, I'm not going to go deeply into the statistics on the number of pieces of malware out there. Know that they do exist. Know that we do come across them on a consistent basis now. You want to make sure that your system is protected by a security platform of some sort. There's a lot of options out there. The Mac and Windows side have a lot of things you can use. Our top recommended product is ESET. We install it for almost all of our customers that we work with. You can get it off of our website. Another product that we like to recommend as well that's pretty decent is Kaspersky. So if you have Kaspersky, that's also a very, very good product. But Norton, McAfee, Trend Micro, WebRoot don't have very high opinion of those products. Okay?
If I download ESET, I mean, if I get ESET.
If you purchase ESET and you make sure it's running its updates, you are in good position.
I mean, are there certain things you have to ask it to?
Not really. The default setup that it has is pretty darn good.
Okay.
Does a good job. If we install ESET for customers, a few more switches that we turn on for clients, but for the most part, the default setup is perfectly fine
And just
for that.
Be sure I delete all of my Norton.
You want to make sure you get rid of any product. And actually, it'll tell you before you install that you have another competing product on the system before you install it. So it'll warn you if you have something like that on the machine.
Do they offer multi-device protection?
They do actually. ESET you can protect your Macs, your Windows PCs, and you can also do your tablets and your Android phones as well. So.
And it is free?
No. There's AVG is a free antivirus program that I tell people to stay away from because it doesn't have as good of a protection level as some of the paid products out there. It's a product that a lot of people like to install and recommend, but these free products used to be good 5, 6, 7 years ago, but unfortunately the criminals are just so good these days that the free products just can't keep up. And I see it time and time again. The PCs that come in with these AVG and AVAST installed on them are the ones that have the worst infections on those machines. The pattern's very clear. I've seen it for many years at this point. So.
On that ESET, is that something you have to purchase online, or you walk into your local Staples and buy?
You can buy it locally at Micro Center. You can walk into our office. We keep disc copies of it, or you can just buy it off their website. So you got 3 great options for that. Okay? Let's keep moving. Going off their discussion about printer sanitation, don't just throw away your old PC or your tablet or your smartphone. Why is that? Well, all of them have media within them that are keeping data of some sort on them. The biggest culprits are the computer systems, since they have data that's sitting on there. And the one thing people don't realize with the computer systems, even if you say, even if you just delete your files off of there and want to give it away to Goodwill or someone, 9 times out of 10, those files are still accessible on that system. And the reason being is because when you get rid of a file and you delete it off your machine, all you're doing is you're getting rid of the treasure map that tells the computer where that is so that you can get back in the file. You're not actually truly wiping the file off of the system. To truly wipe away the disk drive or the hard drive on a computer, you have to do what's called a 7-pass security wipe. And probably the easiest way you can do that on your own, if you don't want to involve a company like ours, is you can download a free product called Derrick's Boot and Nuke. It's my name, but it's spelled D-A-R-I-K. Derrick's Boot and Nuke. It lets you make a CD that you can boot from or a bootable flash drive, and it'll let you run a wipe on your system, and you can specify to do a 7-pass security wipe. It's also called a DoD, Department of Defense security wipe. It's the same standard the federal government uses for all their machines that they get rid of. And it's the same thing we do when a system comes into us that we need to recycle on behalf of a customer. So if you're going to do it on your own, a 7-pass security wipe. I don't know if it'll work off of a Mac system directly. If you have a Mac machine, I believe you can load in a disk from like Mac OS X, your setup CD, and you can use the, I forgot what it's called. I believe there's like a drive utility, but you can do a 7-pass wipe within that utility that Apple provides.
Okay.
So different utility, but the end result is exactly the same. It'll go ahead and do a 7-pass, 7 separate passes of wipes on that drive of scrambling the O's and zeros and ones on the machine to go ahead and make sure that no criminal can reconstruct that data. That's in essence all we're doing.
You've got on here and storage media.
Yes, so flash drives, if you're giving those away, I mean flash drives, a lot of times people get rid of them when they're busted or broken. I just like to crack them, just step on it, break it, I mean just physically destroy it. But again, if it's a working flash drive, within Windows you can go ahead and you can do a wipe as well, or Mac. You can wipe away that device as well. Or Derrick's Boot and Nuke, you can actually wipe away those drives within that. It actually supports USB flash drives, I think SD cards, all those fancy little storage devices that we're using. External hard drives, they're all in the same boat. If you're able to place sensitive data on it, you need to make sure it's sanitized before it leaves your hands. Go ahead, Ruth.
If I were to use the Boot and Nuke on a flash drive, can I then reformat the flash drive and use it again?
Of course. Yep.
Okay.
It becomes usable as a from the factory new in box device. That's pretty much what you're doing.
You mean I can stick the flash drive into my computer and do this?
Of course. If you have that utility I was talking about, that Derrick's Boot and Nuke utility. It's a special disk or a USB flash drive that you make, and once you put it on there, your machine can boot from that, and then you can specify which devices you want to wipe away. Now you need to be careful with it because the language it uses is a little cryptic sometimes, and if you don't know what your Windows disk drive is or your flash drive you want to wipe away is, you can accidentally wipe away everything on your machine, even things you didn't want to. So you got to make sure that you know what you want to wipe away before you start using that program, because if you just start selecting things and wiping everything, you can lose a flash drive, you can lose a hard drive that you didn't want to wipe away. So just exercise caution when you use that, because the damage that program does is irreversible. You cannot get that data back.
And where can you get this program?
If you go on Google and just type in Derrick's Boot and Nuke, you can find it.
Just download it?
D-ban. It goes by the short term of D-ban. D-B-A-N. That's what us technicians call it, D-ban. Okay? And if you have a business that has a big copier system with one of these hard drives, what happens is a technical person, IT person, will pull the hard drive out of that copier and they will do the same thing. They'll put that on a bench system and they will do a D-ban wipe on that hard drive. Because as we said, that copier system, if it has a hard drive, it's most likely been keeping copies of every copy that's been made on that copier just over the life of that unit.
You could take it out and hammer it, right?
You can hammer it as well. You can hammer it as well.
That's the best.
Hey Derrick,
Yes.
how about our home printers? Do we need to worry about the memory? Is there
Most
anything
home printers don't have that kind of a hard drive built into them. I've never run across one that does. The only copiers I've ever seen that have the hard drive are the ones that are so big they have wheels that you gotta wheel them around. So if you got one like that in your house, well, you may need to, but I haven't seen it yet. Alright, safe web browsing always starts with you keeping yourself safe and you making sure that you're exercising best practices online. Again, I can sit here and preach about all the fancy firewalls and antivirus software, and anti-malware software, and Windows security features, but you know what? The people, time and time again, that continue to get infected are the ones that are not practicing safe web browsing habits. And these are things I'm going to go over in our Net Safety 101 for Parents class in a little more detail. But 5 big things you need to watch out for and make sure that you're being mindful of when you're browsing the web and using the internet, especially today with how much malware is out in the market on the internet today. Watch what you download. 1 and 2 go together. Watch what you download, watch where you're downloading it from. This is a discussion I have to have with the teenagers more often than not because they think that free music and free games and free movies and free everything is always such a great thing. Free is not always great. Free comes with a price tag, and a lot of times that price tag is malware that is sitting within that free stuff that you're getting. So please make sure you're downloading from reputable sources. Don't go out and download that free copy of Microsoft Office that someone gives you on a disk or gave you on a flash drive because that could very likely have some kind of infection on it that you don't know about. I see it time and time again. I clean systems off that have this kind of a junk on it, which is why I want to make sure that it's brought to your attention. Safe places to download from, right from Microsoft, right from Google, right from Apple. There are some safe download websites like filehippo.com. What are some of the other ones? Oldversion.com. Ninite.com is a website we use to keep machines up to date for customer systems. N-I-N-I-T-E, Ninite.com. It's a little website you can use to checkbox all the programs you want to install, and it'll do all the heavy lifting of downloading and installing those programs for you. Very, very good website, 100% safe, 100% clean that you can use for your PC, Ninite.com. And again, if you're going from the Apple Store, App Store, the Mac Store, the Google Play Store, or the Windows Store, those of course are safe places to download from. The places you need to be careful, I would say stay away from the dark web. If you've heard of the dark web, the Tor part of the web where you can go on the black markets and download illegal software, you're looking for trouble. The free games, the free movies, the free music that the kids and the teenagers love downloading, you are looking for trouble, you're going to find it. That's where a lot of the nasty stuff comes from these days on the web. You also want to make sure you stay and use caution on links and emails that people send you. If someone sends you a suspicious email saying, check out this link, check out this game on Facebook, there's malware out there that will hijack someone's account, log into their Facebook, and post things on their friends' pages, asking them to go to a link and it looks like it came from them. If it looks too good to be true and looks suspicious, use best judgment. Use caution before you click on something. You can't just click on every link before you look at it online. So watch where you download from, watch what you download. Don't use the P2P services. And again, that's a discussion for the teenagers that I have to have, but again, if it's too good to be true, if it's got that free price tag on it and it's supposed to be a paid item like a piece of software or a movie, you are most likely going to get more than you bargained for with that download. So know that you're getting into a bad situation before you do that. Get away from the torrenting, the download, the P2P services. They're nothing but trouble.
What P2P services is short for?
P2P is peer-to-peer.
Thank you.
Peer-to-peer. Torrenting, a lot of teenagers are doing the torrent websites these days, the Pirate Bay, Demonoid, things like that. It used to be Napster, Kazaa, back when I was in high school. That was the stuff that we were using. Yes, I did that stuff back in the day too, but now I'm educating people how to not do that, right? So I practice what I preach now.
Torrent is no good.
Torrent is no good. Torrent. There are some good torrents, but most of the time, most torrents on the web are illegal movies, music, software.
So
use at your own risk.
Most
illegal books, yes, there are a lot of illegal free books that are being given out on torrent services too. Yeah.
Could you spell that for me?
What?
Torrent.
Torrent.
Torrents.
Yeah.
Torrents.
I'm
Not that I want you to go out looking for these.
Yeah, but I'm not familiar with the term.
T-O-R-R-E-N-T-S. And the key thing I see on systems for people that are doing this, when they come into our office for cleaning, that they got infected, then they tell me, I don't know what I did, is I find a program that's called uTorrent. If you see your kids installing that, they're probably up to no good on that system. uTorrent, this is the Napster of today that causes a lot of trouble for machines that we work on. So if you see uTorrent on a system, that means the kid or whoever's using the system is downloading torrents. Now again, there are some good torrents. There are some good programs that I have to download as a technician that come in torrent form, but 9 times out of 10, it is illegal items that are being distributed over torrents.
And you mentioned some good Ninite.
Ninite.
Yeah, can you
Ninite, let me write that down. So a good website to keep your programs up to date is NINITE.com, Ninite.com. I don't know if it works for Mac. I know for a fact it works for Windows machines. And you can just checkbox all the boxes. I want to download iTunes, Chrome, Java, Adobe Reader, Firefox, all those cool things that we download day to day. You can download them all in one batch, all at Ninite.com. Okay? Never browse the web without paid antivirus program. That's a given. I spent a whole slide on that just previously. If you're doing that against tip number 4, you're doing it at your own risk. And number 5, stay off the risky websites, the porn websites, the illegal software websites. You know, that kind of goes back into the P2P services, the torrenting that the kids are doing these days. Again, the people that complain time and time again about becoming infected are the ones that are going on the risky websites. So, you know, the illicit websites are the ones that usually have all of the bad stuff that's being distributed out there. A high-risk browsing home. If you are in one of these homes, and these are usually homes where there's either someone that's doing a lot of illicit web browsing on a system, or on a machine that has kids that are using it, the tweens or the teens that are going on it, playing a lot of the free games and stuff like that. There's a product that we actually recommend that I actually use on my mom's machine. My mom never gets viruses, ever. And that's because I have a product that protects her called Deep Freeze. This is a patented product that pretty much, as the name says, it freezes the disk drive in a certain state so that no matter what damage is done to it, from malware, mistaken deletions, corruption, programs installed that should have been installed, any of those things, any damage that's done can all be reverted after a simple reboot of the system. All it takes is a reboot to bring it back to clean fashion. This is a program that we used to use at District 207, Main South High School. We kept all of our systems clean with this program back in the early mid-2000s. It's a great product. I just bought a copy for someone else. It costs $45, and I highly recommend it, especially if you have a home that has a machine that tends to get infected a lot, even with paid antivirus programs. So it's made by a company called Phoronix, and it's called Deep Freeze Personal, I believe.
So that's a supplement to your antivirus program then?
Yes, it would be a supplement product. The one thing to keep in mind is that when a machine is frozen, you can't install updates on it. You can't install new software on it until you unfreeze it. So the machine is in a frozen state or it's in a thawed state. When the machine is thawed, you can install new software, make changes to it, install new games for the kids. When you freeze it and restart it, that machine is frozen, literally, in that state. You can do whatever damage you want. You're not going to be able to get around the software that this thing uses to lock that hard drive in its place. So, very cheap way to ensure a high level of stability and not have to worry about viruses or malware on a system is Deep Freeze. And I think they also make a Mac version these days too.
It's a disk?
It's not a disc, it's a digital download. I think they might have a paid copy with a disc that you can buy, but it's a download. You just download from their website, not from their store. Very simple tool. You buy it, you install it, and it pretty much asks you, warning, we're going to freeze the hard drive until you thaw it on the next reboot. It'll go ahead and freeze the hard drive, and that machine is bulletproof. This is literally the one piece of software that I can say is a bulletproof browsing experience for anything you want to do. When you reboot it, you can install any malware and viruses you want. You reboot, it's all gone. It's very, very cool technology.
Now I heard this on they're advertising on TV with Discover card. If you lose your card, you put it on Deep Freeze till you find it.
Oh, this is different. This is, I mean, that's
not the same.
That's not the same. Not the same. This is a computer program. That's a freeze you put on your credit card so no one charges the card. But similar concept. We're freezing something. This is freezing your computer in its current state.
So it freezes the computer. You can still browse and whatever.
You can still do whatever you want. It's just that if you want to install updates or make changes to settings or install Windows updates or Mac updates or install new software, you have to go into what's called thaw it, into a thawed state, reboot it, you make your changes, and then you freeze it again and back into frozen state.
Okay.
So it's a little more headache in terms of the maintenance side, but again, if you have a machine that continually gets infected, I've got a few homes of teenagers that just continue to rack those viruses up, and with this software, mom and dad can feel safe and ensure that nothing's going to happen to that machine because this program really, really does work. I mean, all the worst things that teenagers could do in the high school, none of them could ever get around this program at the high school when I used to work there. So this thing works. It's pretty good.
Okay.
My mom never calls me about viruses because I just tell her, Mom, reboot the machine. Password basics. One thing you want to keep in mind with passwords, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. You want to make sure your passwords are always 8 characters or longer, that you have one number, one symbol, and also best practice is to have one uppercase letter. A lot of websites are requiring this these days regardless, but that is the magic formula for a secure, complex password. 8 long, one number, one symbol, one uppercase letter of some sort. If you've got that combination, you are going to be much less at risk from any kind of criminals or bad guys.
What's your recommendation for how often you should change passwords? Because it's a pain in the neck, we all know that. I mean, really, because there's passwords for, everything.
The business world says every 90 days, but that's a little bit of a pain in the rear. I say at least once every half year.
Every password change amount?
At least your most critical ones.
Most critical?
Every half year, I would say.
Okay.
Banking passwords, email passwords, computer password. Basic smartphone security. As I already said, not only to save power, you can save yourself some headache and also increase the security by disabling wireless that you're not using. I would avoid using SD cards in your phone because if that phone gets lost, a lot of times criminals can pull out the SD card, get all the pictures off of it, contacts, things like that. I would recommend against using SD cards in your phone. Make sure you have a PIN or password lock on your smartphone or tablet. Again, that combination you use to get into your device, make sure it's on there because that will ensure that if a criminal gets the device, they can't just get into the device and steal any of your data and your bank accounts, anything like that that you access. And also, encrypt the device if possible. The newest versions of Android phones and tablets, Apple devices, even computers, and Windows phones, computers, and tablets all have an option to encrypt themselves, which means that it scrambles the drive in a way that if someone stole the device and tried to hook it up to another machine and get the data off, they couldn't do it without your password. That's the kind of security you want to have these days. So you always have to think of in terms of if someone steals my device, can they get my data off of that device?
Why not fingerprints?
Fingerprint readers in current devices are not that great. I don't like them. I don't trust them very much because they are, the good ones are too expensive to implement. So the technology that really works well is not being used in mobile devices. I wouldn't trust my device with a fingerprint. There have been numerous news stories that have come out with criminals doing a very simple fingerprint copy, like on a mold, and they've been able to very simply replicate someone's fingerprint and steal it and just use it on one of those devices. So it's not that great yet. Okay? The rule with backups, 3-2-1 rule with backups. This is one of best practice that we follow with our business customers, and this is something that if you want to follow best practice, you would do on your home system as well. The 3-2-1 rule goes like this. You're always keeping 3 distinct copies of your data at all times. So for us and our customers, that usually means 1 copy on the computer, the main system, 1 copy on some kind of an external device, for example, or on a cloud copy, and also could be on some kind of like an external network-storage box or something of that nature. So 3 distinct copies of your data. You want to make sure that you have 2 different storage mediums. So that means 1 copy could be on your main computer, 1 copy could be in the cloud. You don't just want to have everything in one single kind of storage. A computer system and an external hard drive that are both spinning disk drives. 2 different types of media to protect against mechanical failure. That's the point of that. And the one part of that is 1 copy should always be held off-site, whether that's a USB drive in a locked deposit box. More than likely it's a cloud service that's doing the backup for you, like OneDrive, Google Drive, or Carbonite, or CrashPlan, which is what we recommend to a lot of customers. Some kind of off-site copy should be kept. So keep that in mind, 3-2-1. 3 different places, 2 types of media, 1 copy, always kept off-site away from your system. And the reason for this, you should always have 1 copy held off-site, is because a lot of people don't think about if there is a mass theft of all your devices and your backup devices, or there's a fire or a flood. If that gets hit and it's in the same vicinity, everything usually gets hit in the same batch. So that's why offsite copies are very, very important for backups. Automated backup you can get for free these days. Dropbox offers free storage, Google Drive offers free storage, and so does Microsoft's OneDrive product that they have. So it doesn't really cost that much to have automated backup service for your device, your computer or your tablet device. All these services offer some level of free storage. Of course, you have to pay if you want more storage space, but they all offer some kind of free allotment for yourself. So there should be really no excuse these days for not using some kind of a backup service for yourself.
They similar.
What's that?
They all good.
These are all very similar kind of services. Again, all these services rely on you placing files and dropping the files into the service to go ahead and back them up. If you're looking for more of a backup solution that backs the whole computer up without you thinking about where you place it, you may want a service like a CrashPlan or a Mozy. CrashPlan's our favorite full computer automated backup that'll say every single night, back up all the critical files and you don't have to think about it at all.
And this is also downloadable.
It's a downloadable. CrashPlan's a paid service. It's about $5 a month. But if you're like one of our customers that lost their whole computer, it's a very good $5 well spent. So, yes?
And where would something like iCloud fit into?
iCloud is very similar to these services up here. These Google Drive, OneDrive products. They are not a full automated backup. They are more of a, you have to make sure your files that you want backed up are placed into iCloud.
Okay.
So on the tablet side and the phone side, it's more automated, but on the computer side, for example, your whole Mac isn't backed up by iCloud. You have to actually make sure you're placing it into proper iCloud folders.
Okay.
So if you want more of an automated computer side backup that's automatic and handles the whole machine, that's where a paid service like CrashPlan or Carbonate comes in to play.
I have a Seagate. Is it wise to leave it plugged in all the time? Or just plug it in once a month or once a week? Or?
A backup schedule that works is one that works for you, I will say. Not everyone has the same kind of backup routine. Depending on how often you use the system, some people it's best to do on 1 week, a backup once a week. Some people it's fine once a month. Some people I say once every day. It just depends on how often you're using it, how often you're churning, and how often you have new files being created and updated. So again, that based upon your...
So believing it in is not...
I would probably unplug it just to make sure that if no malware like CryptoLocker, has anyone heard of CryptoLocker in the news? We're running out of time. I don't want to keep moving here, but CryptoLocker is a piece of malware that hits all the files on your computer and any drives connected to your computer. And it locks them with a padlock that only has one copy of the key. Who has the copy of the key? The bad guys. And they extort you for your money. They want you to pay $200, $300 to get that off your machine. I had someone call me from Lake Geneva actually 1 week ago that had an infection like that hit their system. And they took it to Staples, and Staples said, you have CryptoLocker, there's not much we can do. You pay the ransom, or your files are gone forever.
Well, you have them backed up.
If you have them backed up, you're okay. But a lot of people that get hit with this don't have their files backed up.
So you could use that wipe thing.
You can use the wipe thing and bring back your clean set of your files. But again, so many people that get hit with this, their only copy they had was on their main computer. They got hit with CryptoLocker, and all their files were gone forever.
And if you've got an external hard drive, it's locked up as well, correct?
If it's connected to the machine at all times, like she was saying. That's why I said it's now not becoming best practice to just leave it plugged in all the time. Because of things like that travel to anything connected to the system. If you're still using zip drives or floppy disks, I don't know how you got left behind in the 90s, but it's time to move on, okay? Floppy drives make a nice carrying case like this, but they don't make a good storage medium for data. They are very unsafe because they can be dropped, flexed, broken, hit with a small magnet and erased. They are very, very volatile kind of storage medium. I would not recommend using floppy disks anymore. And as much as I say this, I still have 1 or 2 clients that refuse to get away from the floppy disk. So if you're one of those, you'd definitely want to move on to USB flash drives or just saving them on your computer system. Not going to talk about that right now. I don't want to spend any time on that. How to buy a new computer and not get swindled at the store. Very important topic for a lot of people. This is something that we help customers wade through when they buy systems through us. But if you want to go out and just do it on your own, there's a few things that I'll recommend to you so you don't get swindled. Tip number 1, Don't base your decisions only on fringe features. When you go to Best Buy or Staples or one of these other stores, all these guys make commission based off how expensive the machine is that you sell and the extra warranty that they sell you. Don't get swindled by those few fancy things on the machine. Always stick to the basics and the most important things that are tougher to upgrade down the line. The processor, the hard drive size in your machine, whether you got a traditional hard drive or an SSD in there. Make those tough decisions up front and base your computer, your new computer system off of those hard internal specifications, not on the card reader that's on the system, not on the Blu-ray drive that the thing may have. All those things can be upgraded easily down the road. Your processor is expensive to upgrade down the road. Your hard drive, relatively expensive to upgrade down the road. Buy those things, base your system decision based on those tough things, and don't let the fringe features sway you one way or another, okay? Number 2, don't purchase any computer on a single visit. Don't be pressured into the sale. I hate to compare it to like car sales, but sometimes it is like car sales, right? They're going to want to push the specials on you, push the computer on you that on the same visit. It's not going to be here. You know what? These systems can be purchased through a lot of different outlets these days. If they have the same computer system, more often than not, we can get the same kind of computer system for you as well, at either the same price or a cheaper price, because guess what? There's more than one party that buys from the same people they do. Like us, like other stores out there, online services, online websites as well. Don't get pressured in on the single visit, because more often than not, you should be doing your research on what you're buying. Price check between stores, always a good option to do. The store that we usually recommend people to go to if they don't want to buy through us is Micro Center. It's a great store. They have a location in Westmont, Illinois. They have a location in the city on Fullerton and Elston. Great place you can go. They have a big selection of computers, Macs and PCs, that you can select from, and the prices are very good, and they don't do a lot of the pressure buying like Best Buy tends to do. So Micro Center, very reputable store that you can go to on your own. Very great places to shop from. As I said earlier, biggest things you want to focus on: your memory, your processor size, the hard drive size in your system. Top 3 things to base your decision on, because those are the hardest and most expensive to replace down the road. The Blu-ray drive you can always install, the Wi-Fi card you can always put in. Those are easy upgrades to put into any kind of system. If you're buying an extended warranty, don't buy it through the store. Buy the extended warranty through the manufacturer. The stores have systems that are rigged up to make sure they make the best bang for their buck on these warranties, and they're going to run you through loops. And they're going to say, well, we're not going to repair this, we're going to just give you some kind of like refurbished option like this, or there's a certain threshold you have to meet to get the repair. The warranties from the manufacturers, like directly from HP or Dell or Lenovo, our top 3 brands, they don't put you through that kind of stuff. They stand behind their system 100% of the time because their name is on the line. Unlike where if you buy a store warranty, Best Buy really doesn't stand for Lenovo or Dell or HP. They're just there doing a service just because you've paid a little bit extra for that warranty. So anytime you're buying extended warranty, say no to Best Buy's warranty, go back to HP or Lenovo or Dell or Toshiba or whoever you bought the system from, get that extra warranty from the manufacturer. It'll suit you a lot better in the long run. And open box units. This is actually something that we help customers save money on all the time. You can save a lot of great money by buying open box. What does it mean to buy open box? It doesn't mean that you're buying a demo unit that was hit by the kids that were walking to the store looking at the system. It just means that someone bought the system, opened it up, didn't like what was in the computer, missing something. They boxed it back up, they brought it back, and the store cannot legally sell that as brand new anymore. That's all open box means these days. It's a legal term the store has to use to call that unit as not box new from the factory. But you know what? Those systems have nothing wrong with them. They're running a brand new copy of Windows. All the software is legal. The system maybe had 30 minutes of use time or turn on time on it. It's like buying that certified used car that was only driven for 500 miles and returned. You're going to save yourself a considerable amount of money, usually about 15 to 25% right off the top on that system. It's a great option. I would definitely take advantage of it. Go ahead.
I think the warranty's different on them though, right? On Amazon, if you buy an open box, it's different than if you buy a brand new closed box.
Not true. Not true. The warranty that Amazon puts on it for your return period is different. The manufacturer's warranty for how long that system is warranted through the manufacturer is no different. You get a little bit less time just due to the fact that the system already came from the factory and had that much more time on the shelf. But HP is not going to decrease your warranty, or Lenovo won't decrease your warranty just because you bought an open box. You are always entitled to the same warranty from the manufacturer the system came with as it came from the factory. It's just your return period from the person you bought it from is going to be reduced because it's price to move. It's a price to move system. That's why they do that. So instead of 30 days, you might get 15 days. Micro Center does the same thing. But in terms of the condition, in terms of the manufacturer's warranty, no difference. No difference. Go ahead.
Laptop, medium size, 14 or 15 inches. What's your recommendations on the best manufacturer or one to buy?
14, 15-inch laptop?
Yeah, laptop.
Top three I always recommend. Dell, HP, Lenovo.
What's the
Dell, HP, or Lenovo. Lenovo is the company that bought out IBM's computer line.
That's IBM, okay.
I've been using IBM or Lenovo laptops since high school.
Okay.
I love those machines.
Thank you.
But any of those three options are very, very good options that you can go choose. We're running up to about 12:05. I want to open the floor to questions. I don't want to keep anyone too long. I want to make sure we still get questions from the crowd. I had a few last slides I was going to go over, but again, I want to make sure I cover anything that someone definitely wants to hear before they leave today. Yes.
So my original question about my PC running
Yes.
slow. My husband saw this thing on TV. It's like a PC cleaner.
Sure.
You install it and they were raving about it. It was on HSN.
Oh, God.
And he says, buy this. The computer's running slow. I said, no, let me wait till I come to this seminar.
No. Those are smoke and mirror kind of things. The snake oil today for computers is that stuff that you see on those commercials.
So what do you do then instead?
What do you do instead? Make sure they have security software that scans the system, that make sure it's clean of infections. Make sure that you ran your CCleaner in your system to get rid of all your temporary files and your registry items. Delete and uninstall any programs that you're not using that are old in your system, because a lot of old programs come with things that start up on the machine and bloat the what's called the services area of the system, using more memory behind your back than you want it to be using. So get rid of anything you don't need anymore in a machine. And step 4 is usually where someone like us needs to come in, where we can clean out the startup area on that system and get rid of any extra startup items that are bogging down the machine. Those are usually the top 4 things that will clean up any system in pretty short order.
Okay.
Now again, it could be the system's just so old where it could be that it just needs to be replaced, but again, that's a judgment call that we could make after you go through some of those initial items, or if you call us, we could take a look at the system with you and say, you know what, this thing is just of such an age, it has such components where we're not going to be able to resurrect it.
So you
it just doesn't have enough horsepower.
You have a place where I could bring my computer to?
We have an office right in Park Ridge off Northwest Highway. We're very close. Give us a call.
Okay.
You can come in with us, and we will make a judgment call with you on whether it should be repaired or whether that system just needs to be replaced.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, yes.
What's the price range of a Dell of 15, 16 inch or 16, 17 inch?
We tell customers most quality 14, 15, 16-inch laptops, you don't want to be spending any less than about $450 on it. You don't want to be spending any more than about $750, $850 on it. Above that price range is where you get to the gaming style machines where you don't need the kind of horsepower that's included. Below the $350, $450 price range, that's where the bargain bin style systems come in. That's where all the cheap components are used in those kind of style systems. Stay away from the Acers, stay away from the Toshibas. Those are 2 notorious brands. See a lot of repairs on those systems. They don't have good repair histories on them. Like I said, the top 3, Dell, Lenovo, HP, and Apple, all have very, very good repair histories and part components they use.
I didn't understand. What was the second one? I understood Dell.
Dell, HP, Lenovo. 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 That's my personal top favorite.
So in relation to this gentleman's question about the laptop, my PC is old. What's going to help me determine, do I want to buy another PC? Do I want to buy a laptop? How do I know what really is the best way to go?
In terms of PC, standard PC versus a laptop system,
yeah.
It's based upon your use case scenario. We always ask people, what are you going to be doing? Do you want to be mobile with it? Do you want the big screen and the big mouse and nice keyboard with it? Or do you want something that's more compact and more on the go? I mean, it all depends on what you envision yourself doing with that system. Now again, it's kind of murky because you can buy laptops that can be connected to a nice big screen and keyboard when you're in the home. So there's a lot of options, a lot of ways you can go these days with that kind of decision. So
Too much of a decision to make, though. You know, it's hard to know.
And that's where I would say get some of the hard facts in terms of bullet points of what you envision doing with the machine or what you want to do with it. Give us a call. I can tell you what path would be best to go for your particular use case. Help customers all the time with that decision. So
I thought a laptop was nicer because you can clean. There's not all those wires in it. It's just easier to clean around it.
for some people, laptops are nice, but for some that are working primarily within the home, they're not going to be taking it with them. They have some of the new big all-in-one style systems with the big touch screen. It's a computer and screen all-in-one. They have like a 23, 24-inch unit. They're like $600, $700, $800, but it's a computer, it's a screen, comes with a keyboard, comes with a mouse, and it's a nice computer that a lot of people like to purchase. Sort of like the iMac. That's sort of the way the iMacs are these days. It's that's a relatively a little more popular style.
You don't have a box like that?
You don't have a box like this. You just have a little bit larger screen style system that sits on your desk, and everything's built into that.
Well, that's nice, yeah.
So it saves on the wires, it saves on the space, runs cool, usually has less dust that builds up into it because it sits on a desk and not on the floor. So it's a nice option. A lot of people are looking at these days.
What is called? What is system called?
All-in-one. They call it the all-in-one. The Apples call it the iMac style of system. But on the PC side, it's called an all-in-one. All-in-one touchscreen desktop computer. Yes?
I can say that my brother-in-law and sister went to a laptop because they live in Houston. And every time they had a hurricane warning, they could pick up their laptop, but they couldn't easily pick up the desktop and move that.
Yeah. So in that case, a laptop is, again, very mobile. They're easy to take with you in a quick situation, emergency situation. Now again, a lot of the all-in-ones have like carrying handles on them, so you can kind of take it with you. So it's becoming easier to do. But again, every use case is different. Every customer has a different set of things they want to do with it.
If I said casual user, would you say PC versus laptop?
I would say it still depends on what you want to do. Casual use for someone could be web browsing. Casual use for someone could be, I want to watch all my Netflix off my computer screen. So, casual use is a big, broad definition still. So.
All right. You have a question on here. I mean, you have something on here, and I'd like to ask it as a question. Using laser printers instead of inkjet.
Oh, yes. I wish I got time to go into that in detail, but the LaserJet versus inkjet debate is something a lot of people don't know about yet. Here's the short and long of it. Laser printers, the ones that used to be very expensive and reserved for businesses, are now being made for the home in such smaller. They're still not as small as inkjet printers, but they are relatively small compared to what they used to be. And the trick about those is that their cost per page, this is the thing that a lot of people don't look into or don't know about. When you're going out and spending that $30, $40 on a little ink tank, right, that you have to replace every 2 months or so when you're doing all that printing, your cost per page is quite a bit higher than your cost per page would be on a laser printer, because the economics of the toner tanks that come in a laser printer are much better, and you get much better output yields on a toner style system than a little inkjet system. And the reason being is because inkjet uses liquid ink to spill on a page, and those tend to lose a lot more per page than does a comparable laser style system. So in general, if you're looking to save money and keep a printer for a longer period of time and spend less money on those ink refills, I usually recommend people to move towards a color laser printer for the home these days.
And they do e-print?
Oh, they do e-print. If you buy an HP unit, it has e-print built into it. Yes, we actually just installed one 2 weeks ago for a home that someone wanted to do e-print off their laptop for.
Just
so
HP.
Not only HP, Brother has units like this, Samsung makes units like this. I mean, there's a lot of different makes and models that you can buy out on the market. But my two favorites are Brother and HP. Good bang for the buck on both those
But they're not
makes.
good in a photo printing, right? That's what they.
Photo printing is gotten better on the laser systems, but if you still want to do true large-scale photo prints, you have to stick with inkjet. You have to pay the price of keeping an inkjet printer around. But to be honest with you, even then I tell people, if you look at your cost per page to print your photos at home versus like a Shutterfly service or a Walmart or one of the services where they have the big system set up for printing photos, you're not going to beat those people in cost per page. You're not going to win out. So you're still going to be spending more money to print your own photos than just going to Walgreens, having them do it. So I don't recommend doing photo printing on scale at the home anymore. I just don't. Yes?
Your next point on here, you said don't buy new ink/toner, always purchase refilled tanks. I took my empty cartridge to Costco, they filled it and it didn't work. So where do you go?
There's always going to be the exceptions to any rule, and that's one of those where they probably just didn't do a good job or they just didn't have a good refill system. If you're going to do large-scale refill of the same tank over and over, I would recommend a place called Cartridge World. Cartridge World, they have a few locations around here. Skokie is the one location I always tell people about. It's a store that's set up only to do ink and laser refills of tanks. They are specifically geared up to do that, and they do a very good job with it. And they actually have a warranty on the refills they do for a certain number of days. If it doesn't work, you bring it back and they'll refill another one at no extra cost.
Because the one time I thought, I'll give it a try. And I come home and it registered like it was empty. And I thought, okay, I just start buying.
On the places like that, Costco, places that aren't geared up for that, it's a hit or miss. Okay. But Cartridge World or Office Depot also has a pretty good system. They're geared up for that on a big scale. They know what they're doing, and they have very good results with those kind of refills.
And you can't refill inkjets.
You can refill inkjets.
Oh,
yeah.
Can.
Most ink tanks can be refilled, other than the cheapest of the cheap ones, and almost all toner tanks can be refilled as well. Usually how it works is you bring your old tank in, they'll go ahead and they'll give you a refilled tank or another one that they refilled. They take that one for their stock, and they give you another one most of the time. But it's usually a lot cheaper, especially on the inkjet side, especially if you're buying HP branded inks. You're paying a very large premium for that name brand on that tank. It's in essence the new car syndrome for the ink and toner world. You're paying a premium just because it's got the manufacturer's logo and you're buying it brand new in box. I would stay away from it.
Staples do that too?
Staples does the refills as well. Yeah, they're very good. Staples, Office Depot are both very, very good. The best I would say though is Cartridge World. That's all they do is ink refills, and they're very, very good at it. The prices between the two, very similar. Not that much different. But you can usually save if you're going the refill route, refilled tank route, or remanufactured. If you're buying toner tanks, they call them remanufactured tanks. You could save anywhere between 20 to 40, 20 to 50% sometimes on the cost. And that adds up over the years. It really does. Someone else had a question?
Well, I'm looking at your number 6 point about, this is so interesting.
I know, I'm sorry we ran on.
Microsoft Office too expensive, try Office Online. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so actually OneDrive, the OneDrive I showed you a little bit earlier, OneDrive is a service that actually Ruth has some classes that she teaches on those individual apps. OneDrive is an online cloud service from Microsoft that has light versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote that are completely free. You don't have to pay a thing. Now, do they have all the bells and whistles of the paid version? They do not. But for 95% of people, it gets the job done. OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, OneDrive.com. You make yourself a free account and you can use any of those products in the web browser for free at no extra cost. Like I said, they'll strip down, and they also require internet connection, so you can't do it if you don't have internet. But as long as you have those two things met, it's a great alternative. It comes with Word online, Excel online, PowerPoint online, and OneNote online. OneDrive. Any other questions?
Yeah, your number 8 point. When should you repair?
I'll do a separate extended class just for you. I'm sorry.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
When should you repair? When should you replace?
When to repair, when to replace. It's sometimes a tough decision to make. We make the decision with customers based on the age of the processor most of the time and the chipset used inside the computer. Usually the baseline we're using these days on the PC side is if it's older than what's called a Core 2 Duo system. That's the processor name, a Core 2 Duo. If it's got older than a Core 2 Duo, it's usually a replace option for us. If it's got a Core 2 Duo a processor or newer, And again, if you have an AMD processor in your system, the nomenclature is a little bit different, so you may need to ask us about that. They use a lot more model names for their side, but on the Intel side, which is the most popular, Core 2 Duo or newer, most of the time is a repair situation, where we can go ahead and upgrade that or repair it. But again, and this is where I will say it depends, right? Because you could have a brand new system that has very bad system board damage, and it would just be so expensive to replace the parts inside of that, where we would still say, even though it's so new, it's still cheaper to replace that system. So there are exceptions to that rule about the processor as well.
I want to ask a question
Yes.
about the smartphone security.
Sure.
Which one is better, having a PIN or doing encryption?
They are not used exclusively aside from one another. I usually do both. You want to have a PIN code, a passcode on your tablet or smartphone device, and you want to make sure it's encrypted as well.
What is encryption? What does that mean?
Encryption basically is a hidden key that gets used to lock the data on your device, on your smartphone or your hard drive, so that even if some savvy criminal, like if I was a criminal and I stole your smartphone and I connected it to a bench-style system that was geared up and rigged for data theft, I would not be able to get the data off of that because I wouldn't have your passcode to get into it. Most people don't know that a regular, just a password on your laptop, for example, doesn't do anything to stop a thief. If I was a thief and I brought the knowledge I have and stole someone's laptop and took the disk drive out of it, I could get all the data off that machine, whether you have a Windows password or not on that. That's why you want to make sure your drive is encrypted for highest security, and that you also have a password built into it.
Okay, and the SD card, is that the same as a SIM card?
No, a SIM card is a card that allows you to get cell service from your provider, like an AT&T or a T-Mobile service. A SD card is a storage card that you can put into the phone that allows you to store more pictures or more games or more apps on it. That's like a USB flash drive for your phone. That's pretty much what it acts like. But SD cards are also used in cameras. Traditional cameras use SD cards too, so that's the same technology. Any other questions?
You told me to see you afterwards about the malware?
Yes, we'll take a quick look at that as soon as I stop the recording and we do the quick raffle for the items. So we've covered, I think, all the items. We covered how to buy. We covered some of the aspects about PC being slow. We definitely covered the malware aspect. We talked about all the cool Wi-Fi stuff. And who had the question about Zone Alarm? I forgot. Who brought that question up? Do you use Zone Alarm?
Yes.
On your system?
Firewall.
So Zone Alarm is what's called a software firewall program. I don't like software firewall programs because they cause more confusion than they do good these days. And in general, I recommend people to put in a good router in their home. If you're using a traditional internet connection, you have a router, right? And a router has a hardware firewall built into it. And a hardware firewall is much better because it's more secure and it doesn't prompt you with goofy notices. Block this, allow this, block this, allow this. What do I know what to block? What do I know what to allow, right? People get confused too easily, and a software firewall doesn't end up doing a good job in the end due to that.
How would I know if the router has a firewall? Because I
if you bought a router that is at least $75, $80 from the store, Netgear, Linksys, a Cisco device, something like that, 99 times out of 100, it has a firewall, hardware firewall built into it. It's hard to buy one without it these days.
So I don't need the firewall on the
That's why I tell people you don't necessarily need a software firewall. It's kind of an unneeded software add-on that antivirus companies like to sell you. That's why when people ask me which version of ESET do I buy ESET NOD32 or do I buy ESET Smart Security, I always tell them buy the cheaper one because the more expensive one comes with a firewall and you don't need it. Your internet connection, your router at home has a hardware firewall. It's 10 times better than any piece of software could do.
All the routers?
Almost every router made in the last 6 years, 7 years, has a hardware firewall built into it, blocking the bad guys.
And I thought the computers come with firewalls too.
The computer does come with it as well, very, very light version of it, but the built-in versions don't really do that much, to be honest. But on the flip side, there's programs like Zone Alarm that do too much, and they are too obtrusive and too many notifications. And the notifications are so cryptic that the average person doesn't know what to allow, what to block. So after a while, you get so confused, you just either hit block, 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 or allow, 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 and the program's no good at that point. So you're not doing yourself a favor.
You can just delete firewall?
I usually turn the firewall off on a system. I usually do not leave it on. Yes?
I'm leasing my internet from Comcast.
Sure.
Does that router have a firewall in it?
It does have a firewall. It's not that great. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than the software firewalls, but I still like to depend on a true firewall from a router given to me, or a purchase from like a Best Buy or a Staples, a Netgear or a Linksys device or a Cisco device, something like that. Because the firewall technology is usually just better.
Thanks.
It's updated more often, and it also has better security around it.
All right, thanks.
But again, that is still better than nothing. Still better than nothing. So. All right, I think we've exhausted the questions. If anyone has any final questions just for me on a one-on-one basis, I'll answer them after class. I'm going to cut off the recording now. I appreciate everyone coming out and joining us today. And we're going to draw 2 names for the goodie bags to see who gets to go home with a few freebies.
Well, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for coming out.